You're about to listen to a Gaming Stooges podcast with your regularly scheduled Stooges.
I'm Jack.
The internet calls me Cloud.
And I'm Landon.
We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and if you do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, or joining our Discord. Let's get on with the show.
Howdy, folks. Today's episode is on, well, you guys like Dragon Ball?
No.
You guys like playing Dragon Ball games?
Pass.
No?
Pass.
No Dragon Ball games?
No.
All right. Well, I guess
I
this
hate
podcast
Dragon
is
Ball.
over. Dragon Ball is a series that's been pretty big for all of us in some form here at Gaming Stooges. We have different, varying experiences. There's a lot of Dragon Ball games. We're
Yes,
only
there
going to
are.
go over the ones that were released in North America, because if I went and if we went through every single game that came out, period, then like half of these games we would not have anything to say about them because we've never played them. And also there's already enough games that just came out over here that we could play. You know how many games came out in North America alone?
12.
At least 5.
49.
I win.
Meaning,
I
which
was
is
correct.
funny because that means that Budokai Tenkaichi 4, tentatively named as of the time of the recording of this podcast, is going to be the 50th game to come out, unless they sneak some other game in there first. I don't know why they do that. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same answer for all of us, but we have to ask, what is your first exposure to Dragon Ball, anime or manga? But I do want to add, what is a memory that you still have, like a vivid memory from that first exposure? Jack, you can go ahead and start.
Definitely the anime. Definitely Z on Cartoon Network.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we all watched it through Toonami on Cartoon Network,
Yeah,
right?
like
So,
I forget I forget how much exactly they did this, but I remember Cartoon Network would have a block of like 2 hours of Dragon Ball Z, like every night for, I forget how long they did it. I want to say it was like every summer, but it's been a long time. But I would like sit my ass down in front of the TV and glue myself and watch Dragon Ball for like 2 hours. Because I was
pretty much
into
similar
it.
stuff.
I would not move until the 2 hours were done. Then I would do it again the next night.
What's a core memory you have from watching the show during that time?
I think the first scene I ever saw in the entire show was Piccolo getting his arm cut off, and then like blood is
Badass.
seeping out of it, and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool.
That's fucking badass.
Yeah,
That's what
it
that
was.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z especially, was known for being very violent as a cartoon at the time. I mean, my first exposure was through Toonami. I didn't jump in though until like kind of late into the series. I would go back and like actually experience the rest of it, but my first vivid was like the start of the Android saga. My first memory was seeing Future Trunks land, become a Super Saiyan, and then just completely obliterate Frieza and King Cold. Like, that was the first memory I have, and I was like, that's so cool! So, like, I just kept watching from there.
Nice.
We have Justin here with us, so he's gonna actually be joining. Justin, I'm assuming you also watched on Toonami, right?
Justin?
Just
Good answer, Steve.
Good answer,
Good
Steve.
answer.
Good answer.
Landon.
Yeah, I guess we'll come back to Justin after.
Oh, okay. My first, the first thing I really remember, was Gohan turning Grade 8. Like that was like the first thing I remember is like Grade 8 action. I would catch it a lot of times at first when I was visiting my grandmother, because we didn't really have any sort of cable at home when I was growing up for a while. So that's like, I remember visiting my grandmother's place and like Dragon Ball was something that was like on TV at the time, and I was like, oh, cool. And then, yeah, after that, it was like when I could actually get access to it, I would watch it. Like, as far as like when GT was actually still airing on through Toonami, like what I would do is I would use a VCR and record like on a blank tape and just record the Toonami slot, and I would just watch it through that like next day or something.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Yeah,
that means that you jumped in a little bit later than most people. Then
oh no, this was like I was watching it live as like throughout that like the whole time, but that's like something I was doing all the way through GT.
Yeah.
Through GT.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Like most of GT, I watched just on like one tape, or I would do like I would just have it set to like record whatever the Dragon Ball time slot was. So like if it was like a rerun episode, I was watching a rerun episode. But no, I remember watching the last episodes of GT that way too.
Yeah, like when I first watched Z, it was like this was probably like 2003 or 4, and it was just like Cartoon Network doing like just going through all of the episodes in order in a 2-hour block every night. Do we have Justin back?
I heard him in the background moving some stuff around, walking back inside.
Okay,
you're back. Okay, please answer this. Did you actually start your Audacity a little while back?
Yeah, it's still running.
Oh, okay. Perfect. That's perfectly fine. So, you're back just in time. We actually want to ask. We're assuming that your first exposure to Dragon Ball was through the anime, probably through Toonami. Is that correct? And we also wanted to ask what your first like core memory with the series is.
Something you really remember.
Yeah. I think the most unforgettable thing is the fact that fucking Raditz got a hole through his whole fucking body.
That's a pretty good memory. Like, it's still an iconic moment.
Which is cut out of Kai.
Yeah, I mean, they have it, but like they did like a lot of editing. We'll talk about that with some of the games. They follow this trend as well.
Yeah.
So let's go around the room and at least one character, but up to 5. Who would you say are your favorite characters in the Dragon Ball franchise? Now, this can be game exclusive. This can be anime filler exclusive. This can be whichever characters you just like the most. Who are your favorites?
All right, Jack, name 5 Dragon Ball characters.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, you're a Dragon Ball fan? Name 5 characters.
Okay, so we got Shanks. We got Usopp. We got Sonic. Ash Ketchum.
And Jackie Chan.
From Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh my goodness.
Favorite character is Piccolo. Like, I think seeing that first scene where he like rips his arm off and then like grows it back is like that was the moment where I'm just like, this guy's cool. Like,
that was when Imperfect Cell like sucked the life out of his arm, right?
Yeah.
And then like Piccolo was just like, Durr!
I think so.
I think I might be misremembering, but I think
that's his fight against First Form Cell. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Maybe I was thinking of a different
favorites
scene.
that stick out?
As far as characters, Krillin. I like the androids.
Which ones? There's like 5 of them.
Okay, specifically 17 and 18.
Okay.
But Gohan's
great. Okay, so that's 5.
Yeah.
For me, so you might be starting to see a trend with a few of them. But I love Cell. He used to be my favorite character. I like Goku Black. I like Future Trunks. This is where it gets a little weird, but I like Gohan and Vegeta. Like, those are like my top 5.
What's the trend?
Well, the trend is several of these characters are all related to the branching timelines that started within the Android saga, which, thanks in part, not even just in part, thanks fully to Future Trunks. Thank you, Future Trunks, for making half of the series happen. Those are my favorites, though. Justin, I almost said Landon. I'm so used to only 3 of us being here. What would you say are like up to 5 of your favorite characters?
The first one should be obvious because I talk about him or post about him anytime he's in the limelight. But my favorite character has always been Cooler.
Cooler's a good character.
Yeah, I like him better than Frieza. I mean, Frieza's grown on me, like especially in Super because he's gotten better, but like and smarter. But like I don't know, Cooler just always had a level head. He was also stronger at the time, and I just think his final form is cooler. Even compared to the golden form, I still think it looks better. Number 2 would probably...
Other favorites?
Yeah, number 2 would be Vegeta. I really like him. Originally, I was kind of sick of his constant, like... I guess you could say bullying of Goku because he was always frustrated. But, you know, when you really look at him, his determination is actually pretty admirable. I like Gohan. I'm not really a fan of what they turned him into, but I like his general character. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3. Got 3.
4 has to be 18, mostly because her fight with Vegeta was fucking funny. How Vegeta was like so full of himself, and then she just beat the fucking shit out of him, and then I think she broke his arm, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she just kicked him right in the fucking
infamous moment, iconic moment.
Yeah.
And then last one out of your 5?
Yeah, definitely Cell. I like Cell. I think my like for him goes from like first form and then perfect. I'm not really big on his second form.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, I like semi-perfect Cell, but like not as much as the other 2 forms.
Yeah, first form, they played up the creepy factor for him a lot because he wasn't actually really strong enough to face any of the stronger Z fighters, so he kind of had to like pick his battles.
Yeah, interestingly, he wasn't even the strongest enemy when he was first introduced. Like, he was weaker than 17 and 18. But we gotta keep going. We have a lot to talk about. So you've got your 5.
What's up? I remembered. Okay, I had to remember like which particular moment it was where I remembered Piccolo losing his arm. It was the fight with Raditz.
Oh, right.
Rick grows it at the end of the fight after he kills Raditz.
Yeah.
But he does
because
lose his arm there. Too.
Yeah, he just
because I remember starting like pretty close to the beginning of the series because I remember the entire Saiyan saga from when I was a kid. So like it had to have been like earlier. So sorry. Go on.
Yeah. No, that makes more sense. And then Landon.
All right, so we've got Raging Killer Move Krillin. We've got Apex of Supreme Saiyan Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. We've got Saiyan Warriors with Ultimate Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Phantom Majin Sealed Within Tapion, Rudigar in parentheses. And Radiant Potential Caulifla.
I like how you used Dokkan battle pulls for all of those. Wonderful.
Perfect.
They're all right there.
We love it.
You said I could choose anything from a game, so I chose...
Hey, there you go. I did, nice loophole.
I kind of hope someone did the joke where they just picked 5 different forms of Goku.
I picked Goku and Vegeta as
and
one
then Goku
character.
again. Yeah. All right. So everybody who's seen this podcast at least once or twice, we have several episodes or listen to it on Spotify, YouTube, wherever. We like to do a thing called Smash or Pass, and it's just a nice, quick way of finding out who wants to talk about certain games or things during the podcast. So we're going to be going through all of the games here. And I've split them into 5 sections. I'll introduce each section and then turn it over to Jack to help move us along. But basically, if you want to talk about it, or if you have played it and want to talk about it, say Smash. If you have either not played it, or you've played maybe a little bit of it, but not really enough that you don't want to talk, so you don't want to talk about it, you can say Pass as well. We don't judge.
Or if it fucking sucks. Say pass.
No, I'm going to say smash on everything, even the bad games, because I want to talk about the bad games too.
Damn.
So,
This is where
Smash,
Jack
pass,
says,
and piss.
guys, I want you to know, so there's 49 Dragon Ball games. I played like 35 of them, and 25 of those were in the months leading up to this podcast.
This podcast was...
I suffered
The
for you
glorious
guys.
saga.
He did a lot of work. I did
Cloud-
some work, but he did a lot.
Cloud put in more effort into preparing for this podcast than
any other.
I've seen him
episode previous.
any like Gaming Stooges anything previously.
Yeah, any Gaming Stooges content ever.
I don't know why.
And I'm not even saying that's a low. I'm not even saying the bar was low. I'm just saying you put in a lot of effort.
I did. Yeah. There's the Google Docs page that I linked Jack to so that he can help move us along. Is about 15 pages, 14 pages. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So jumping into the first section, each of these sections is about somewhere between 8 and 12 games, depending. The first section is very wonky. Before Dragon Ball Z Budokai came out, and we will get to that game, Dragon Ball games were not really seen over here, but there's quite a few games that came out before Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Some of those came out even here, and by some I mean like one or two, before Dragon Ball Z Budokai had come out over North America, but most of them would be re-released after, some cases in this section long after, for various reasons. So, the first game that we're going to talk about is Dragon Power. And Jack, you can go ahead and take it away. There's got quite a lot of weird stuff with this one.
Dragon Power was first released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1988. It was heavily altered for its North American release, with removal of all Dragon Ball references and censoring of any adult themes. It was developed by Tosei Software Company and published by Bandai. It is technically the first Dragon Ball game released in North America, but it was edited to not be a Dragon Ball game in the West. It is a top-down action game and covers the first portion of Dragon Ball manga before moving to a unique plot that ends before the Emperor Pilaf arc.
So, I didn't play this. I only know of it. So, I'm going to say pass, but I mean, I know some details. It's like a Super Mario Brothers 2 USA treatment sort of thing, but in reverse.
Pass.
Did anybody else pass?
Yeah, I'll pass. I know enough about the game, but I've never touched it.
No. I've heard it's hard.
Cloud's an extreme game.
Next we have Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden. It was only released in North America on Nintendo Switch in 2018.
Wow.
It was a pre-order bonus for Dragon Ball FighterZ, also developed by Tosei Software Company and published by Bandai. Features 13 playable characters, and it is the first fighting game in the franchise where it was originally released, and covers the Piccolo Jr. saga of Dragon Ball through the Cell games in Dragon Ball Z. That's kind of
mostly with the character representation. There's not a lot of There's not a lot of story content for it.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I didn't play it though because I didn't get it in time. I didn't get Dragon Ball's FighterZ in time. It wasn't a pre-order bonus. It was gifted to me.
I do own the digital release, and I'm pretty sure I own one of the original, was it a Famicom? Super Famicom?
Super Famicom.
I think I own the Super Famicom cart.
It was on, it was Super Famicom originally.
Yeah, and I played a little bit of it, and I'm probably the only... I'm guessing, Justin, you didn't play it?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay. And we can roll this into the next one, too, because I think the next one on the list is the other Super Butoden that came out.
Correct.
Yes.
The same way. They're very basic, fighters for 2D. I mean, they're fun, but they're very basic, and they have pretty limited rosters, so they're whatever. They hold up pretty well, though.
Do you want me to still read off the second game?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 2. And for the record, I'm the one that's naming all of the games and talking about them because otherwise I don't have much to say. I haven't played most of these games. Super Butoden 2 was only released in North America on Nintendo 3DS in 2015 as a pre-order bonus for Dragon Ball Z Extreme Butoden, also developed by Tosei, published by Bandai. Fighting game with a whopping 10 playable characters and a story mode that changes based on whether the player wins or loses. Notably, Notably, the only fighting game in the Dragon Ball franchise without Goku being available to play from the beginning. What the fuck?
He's one of the 2 unlockables. There's 8 characters to start, 2 unlockable, and Goku's one of them.
Well,
that's so
time
wild.
Frame, doesn't it start off around the Cell Saga?
Yes, actually. Finish up, Jack.
Okay, and covers Cell games and several side movies with the inclusion of BoJack, Zangia, did I pronounce that correctly? And Broly.
Yeah. So
that would be
it covered a lot of non-Goku stuff.
Yeah, because he's not.
So Goku is absent for a good portion of the arc.
Yeah, he's not really. I mean, he's bedridden and dead.
Yeah,
for like
right.
For most of that content. So
yeah,
it's a good thing that we're speeding through these early ones because we're going to need the time to talk about a lot of the games coming up later. But we got another game coming up.
We have no shit. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, released in North America on the PS1 in 2003. The fuck?
This is a good
Keep going.
Okay. Was localized quickly to cash in on the Dragon Ball Z craze in North America, despite only being released in 1995.
It was It came out in 1995 elsewhere, and then they finally released it for us in 2003.
That's funny. Developed by Tosei and published by Atari and Infogrames, the same people that brought you Backyard Baseball. Has a massive roster for the time of 27 characters, 22 of which are playable, from the beginning, hence the name, with characters representing all sagas of Dragon Ball Z present, as well as some characters representing Dragon Ball.
I think I meant to put right, yeah, there's like OG Dragon Ball, I think. So I'll say Smash, but like a very reluctant Smash, mostly because I played it, not because I liked it.
Yeah, say piss.
So I'm assuming this is a pass for you, Jack.
Oh yeah, I've never played it.
Justin, have you played this?
No.
Okay, you're lucky.
Say piss.
So I'm gonna say no. So Smash, but I just want to put my 2 cents in. I first played this when I was getting into Dragon Ball Z, like the big craze, it was sweeping around all over the place in North America. And I had friends who had quite a few Dragon Ball games. I did not have Dragon Ball games, and my family was poor, so they could only afford so much, and most of that went into Pokemon and other Nintendo games. So they brought over, one of their games was Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22. It was not my first Dragon Ball game, thankfully, that I played, but it was one of the earliest, and I remember not having a fun time with it. I played it again recently, and it is still garbage. Like, the sprite work is decent because Akira Toriyama actually helped with that, but the graphics otherwise are very dated because it's an 8-year-old game being re-released to us. The controls are awful. Just largely, very sluggish controls that don't respond well, and just it's just so bland. There's nothing to do. You can either play against a computer in just random regular, matches, or you can do what's called a build-up mode, which the next game that we're going to talk about also has. The build-up mode is you can level characters up, and the only thing that does is just you use those level up characters against someone else who's got their memory card inserted and is using their leveled up characters. It's stupid. The game has nothing to offer. There's so many fighting games in this series, as we're going to go over, and this is literally one of the worst ones. So that's all I want to say. Let's move on.
I think it is the worst straight fighting game.
There's one game that could be argued to be worse, but it is definitely a contender. If it's not the worst, it's second worst.
Jesus. Yeah, no, it's bad.
Next game,
Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. First released in North America in 1997 on the PS1 as a limited release, and then later re-released in 2004. Developed by Tosei, published by Bandai and Atari. First game to officially be released as part of the Dragon Ball franchise in North America, and first Dragon Ball game to be fully rendered in 3D. Despite the name, it includes characters from both Z and early GT.
Another one, very reluctant Smash. I will talk a little bit about it. I didn't like it though.
It's also
Just
bad.
say piss.
Yeah, just say piss.
Smash, pass, or piss.
Smash, pass,
It's piss. It's piss. All right. Yeah, it's piss. It's this game. So like, imagine Ultimate Battle 22, but with 3D models and somehow even more sluggish and like even more unresponsive. The characters at least play a little better despite this clunky pace. It's kind of like a Virtua Fighter style kind of gameplay, but it really isn't good. It's like I said, it has the same modes and everything as Ultimate Battle 22, just with 3D rendered characters. That's it. Oh, also weirdly, because this was before the Funimation dub, they have such iconic roles as Steve Bloom as Goku.
Hell yeah.
Steve Bloom as Goku? What the fuck?
Yep. Does anyone else want to talk about GT Final Bout real quick?
Pass.
I've only seen it. I've never played it.
Again, you're lucky. Let's move on to the next game then.
Dragon Ball Z: The Legendary Super Warriors was first released in North America on Game Boy Color in 2002. Developed by Banpresto and published by Infogrames.
Al knows who Banpresto is.
It is a turn-based game using cards for attacks, techniques, and items. Oh no, it's Kingdom Hearts coded.
No.
Covers all major arcs in Dragon Ball Z and includes some extra content from future Trunks' timeline.
So
what else has Banpresto done?
They make they're
the Super Robot Wars series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But Banpresto is normally like Bandai's arm that deals with like Gunpla and statues.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Right.
It's part of Bandai Namco.
Got it.
Right.
I mean, I could have figured by the name, but
yeah. So they mostly do like the statues and figures and stuff. Like that's what they make. So it's weird that they use Banpresto for
like a video game, like card-based video game as well. For like not even with like mech characters either, just like Dragon Ball.
I mean, all Dragon Ball statues, if it's licensed, it goes through Banpresto. But yeah, as we saw in one of the most recent Patreon videos, I own this game.
Have you played it?
A little bit. But not
I played
enough.
a little bit of it.
Yeah, not enough for me to want to talk about it, so pass.
I'll just say real quick, it's so like they literally do exactly like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is probably what Jack was thinking, but it's a turn-based game instead, so it's not like action-oriented.
So it's
Chain
good.
of Memories, my bad.
So you have this turn-based aspect where you can gather energy and then you can use cards to assign to a deck, and that deck will give you commands, and those commands will pop up each turn. You can spend your points that you've gathered to use on certain attacks and stuff. It's a little hard to learn, but I mean it's pretty fun. It's a little challenging. It's very quick with how it goes through the sagas though. Like I was on like the second or third battle and they already had me against Nappa. Like they didn't like they just fly right through everything. That's about it, though. We got one last game before we move on to the second section where things start to get good, though.
Dragon Ball Z, the collectible card game, released in North America on GBA in 2002, developed by Bandai and published by Infogrames. It is based on the Dragon Ball Z collectible card game available at the time, and it is made by Oh, you put that twice.
I did that. Oop, my bad. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's all that needs to be said, though. There was a Dragon Ball Z collectible card game that came out in the early 2000s. Some might remember some cards floating around. This game is based on that, apparently. I don't know. I didn't play it. Pass.
Pass. I actually don't own this one.
Huh.
It's one of the few I don't own right now. So
it's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Is that a pass for you too, Justin?
I don't play card games that aren't Yu-Gi-Oh.
All right. So second section is where a lot of people are going to be actually engaged in Dragon Ball game discussion, because this is the era of Budokai.
Oh.
So we got the Budokai games, and as well, they didn't want to leave people who didn't have a PS2 out in the dust. So they released some games on the Game Boy Advance. We're going to go over some of those early Game Boy Advance games as well. So, Jack, why don't you start us off?
All right, we got Dragon Ball Z Budokai, baby! Released in North America on the PS2 in 2002 and the GameCube in 2003. Developed by our good friends in Dimps and published by Infogrames and later Atari. It is first to begin the popularity of fighting games in the Dragon Ball franchise in North America. Covers the Saiyan, Frieza, and Cell games from Z. It is known for including what-if scenarios and being the first Dragon Ball game to feature the Funimation voice cast.
Smash.
Big smash.
Yeah.
Even if it is like
Landon and Justin.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Landon,
it's. I mean, like by Dragon Ball Z fighting games, it's pretty bare bones. But like, you know, it's the first of it. It's kind of the first of its kind.
It's definitely the first Budokai. That is.
I mean, the first of the good Dragon Ball fighting games.
No.
From what I understand.
There's some stuff that we didn't get that were pretty good.
There's a lot of stuff that we did not get that is pretty good for the 2D fighters.
The first of good Dragon Ball fighting games
we got.
There you go.
So yeah, I didn't play this originally when like it came out and when everybody was into Dragon Ball Z. I did watch a friend that owned it play a little bit of it. I thought it was pretty interesting, but I did play it recently, and it has aged a bit. It is pretty bare bones. The story mode is still pretty fun though. It switches between different characters. You have different fights. The main sticking point with me is that they have a capsule system, and this is going to be something with all the Budokai games. And the capsule system is very poorly executed in this one, particularly with transformations. With transformations, you have to have characters that transform have to have every level of transformation in order to get to their highest one. So, like, if you want to use Super Saiyan Goku, guess what? You need Kaioken times 3, I think, Kaioken times 20, and then you can have Super Saiyan. And those all have to be on the same capsule loadout.
And those take over other skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
They take up slots that you could be putting on to actually use actual moves.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the transformation problem was only really a problem for Goku because he had the absolute most.
I mean, yeah. With Gohan, you have Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2, and then Vegeta has Super Saiyan 1.
And
but
Vegeta.
Most characters... Yeah, but most characters will be able to use the extra 1 or 2 slots depending for actual like other moves, so they could also give themselves an edge. It is an interesting system, but I just like it more so for just the core gameplay. You have light, heavy, medium attacks.
Yeah.
You have different specials that you can use if you input certain chain of buttons. They did shortcut things a bit better when in the following games, though. They gave you like extra ways to input the same special skills so that you could use them, and just general overall, just it's a little more sluggish compared to Budokai 2 onwards. So it's pretty good for what it is. I mean, I like the what if scenarios specifically for no other reason than it helped open up what if scenarios in other Dragon Ball games, and now we have like really cool side material because of that being like a popular thing.
I think the most interesting thing about the original Budokai is that it actually shows the giant hole in Raditz's body.
That is true.
I mean, yeah, this was before they started censoring the Dragon Ball games a little, and Dragon Ball anime a little bit more heavily. Also, what is with you and Raditz's hole?
He loves Raditz's hole.
I like.
Yeah, he loves fingering that hole, fisting that hole.
I was gonna say you could put a whole leg through that hole.
Putting his whole head through that hole.
Well, it's like
yeah, pretty much.
After seeing explicit detail and then just nothing when the special beam cannon goes through him, it's very jarring.
All right, well, we have more to talk about though. Dragon Ball Z, the next games they play the same, so let's just jump right into those.
Budokai 2, PS2 in 03, GameCube in 04, covers every arc of Z. Notable for the Dragon World campaign mode, which uses a board game style of movement for items and fights. Includes what-if characters with Gokuel, Tiencha, and several forms of Super Buu with various characters absorbed.
Yeah, like he absorbs like Krillin and Yamcha and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Smash again?
Sure.
Yeah.
This one's good.
So for this one, I mean, the story campaign, only follows the story and the fact that it goes through the arcs in order, but like all of the content is like
it doesn't actually follow it.
Yeah, you just take it and shake it all up and call it good.
Like you always have to play as Goku, but depending on the board, you'll be able to pick some additional characters. And one of those characters from literal first board of the game is adult Gohan, not kid Gohan, adult Gohan. So it's not really they're not following the canon events of the story. They're just kind of letting you kind of relive the moments of it.
Yeah, I think it's cool though. It's unfortunate that they never went back to this real design of like campaign structure, because it's probably one of the most unique from all of these games, and it would have been fun to have another game with like the board game aspect.
Yeah. There is one other game that at least used the board game aspect for the maps, but it's not nearly as detailed as how Budokai 2 did it.
Yeah, Budokai 2's was awesome.
I think
it was.
I think after Budokai 2, I think they just used the traditional like Dragon Ball story system from that point onwards.
Yeah, for a while. One cool thing I like about Budokai 2 is it also did introduce fusion characters to the game for the Budokai series, because the first Budokai game didn't have any of that since it was only covering the previous stuff. And it's one of the first games out here that covers like a lot of that sort of stuff. So having what-if characters when they also had like Goku and Tiencha, like we'll get into it later, but there's other games that utilize like fusions in a really fun way. But yeah, the main thing about Budokai 2 is, Dragon World, and then they also started shortcutting certain attacks. So there's some easy ways to do certain moves, like particularly the beam Ki Blast style supers, because you had like these melee ones in the first game where you could just use punch and guard at the same time in order to do them. And that carries over. But in order to do something like the Kamehameha wave, you have to hit punch, 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 and then the energy attack. But now you can just use forward and the energy attack, and it'll just use it. So it helped make special attacks just a little bit easier to use in Budokai 2, I think. But otherwise, I mean, it's a good game. I like it. I played it when I was a kid. I thought it was great. I went back to it recently for the podcast. Still think it's a great game. I like it. Thumbs up.
Budokai 3?
Mm-hmm. Budokai 3.
I'm ready to move on. Budokai 3. Released in North America on the PS2 in 2004. You just wrote PlayStation, but I'm assuming you meant play at PS2.
I did,
because that is correct.
You're not gonna call me out on all my typos, man.
He's calling you.
Yeah.
Blasting.
Also developed by Dims, published by Atari. Covers the arcs of Z as well as some of GT. The Dragon Universe campaign mode with an expandable world map for Earth and Namek. Explorable, excuse me. What did I say?
You said expandable.
Jesus Christ,
expand the world.
Yeah. Explorable world map.
Expand whole.
And included side content characters such as Bardock, Cooler, and Broly.
Smash! Again.
It's the best Budokai, the best regular Budokai game.
I would argue, yeah. Like, there's one other game. It's a little weird. We'll get there. But, that I would say, but like, this is such a good game. Like, going back to it, the Dragon Universe mode, you can like, level up your characters and then like allocate stats to them. You do still have the capsule mode, and between Budokai 2 and Budokai 3, they've given you a lot of cool, like, just supportive skills that you can assign to capsules, so it doesn't always have to be attacks. You can, like, do something that gives you just, like, an attack buff after a certain point in the fight, or you can get an attack buff at the start of the battle that only lasts for, like, a certain period, and just other cool, like, abilities. It's got the same gameplay otherwise. The Dragon universe is kind of, like, the main thing, and then plus GT content, and then the start of the ever-loving milking of Broly and Bardock. Jesus Christ, there's so many games in this franchise that have Broly and Bardock in
them. Yeah. Even if the game doesn't have movie characters, Broly's almost always going to be in it.
He's always there! But yeah, no, I mean, we talked enough about Budokai. Budokai 3 is the best game of the three, obviously.
I love Budokai 2. We agree.
I mean, I prefer Budokai 2 more, to be honest. I agree with you, but most people will say Budokai 3 is the best one.
And those people are wrong, and that's okay.
But let's move on to the next game. We got a new trilogy that is not Budokai.
Lennon's making the Wendy Oldbag face. We got Dragon Ball Z: The Legacy of Goku for Game Boy Advance, released in North America in 2002, developed by Webfoot Technologies and published by Infogrames. Covers the Saiyan and Frieza arcs of Z. It is an action RPG, though the RPG elements are extremely light. I meant to say lots. That's lots
me.
Of usage of filler for gameplay content. Quest-based progression system featuring only Goku as a playable character. It is notorious for its high difficulty.
It's notorious for being butt.
So, this one is, as Jack and Landon would say, a piss. I'll talk about it, but not because I liked it. This game sucks.
The game is dog poopy.
So like, people have, like, kind of exaggerated it a little bit, but it really isn't being exaggerated that much when, like, you get dropped in and you immediately have to fight these wolves that just tear you apart in 3 hits. Just basic wolves. Normally, I don't care if, like, Dragon Ball games kind of, like, need you to suspend your disbelief to play them, but it's egregious. Like, every new area you get to, you have to grind. But in order to grind, you need to hit and run everything, because everything will kill you extremely quickly.
Yeah, you just need to run around shooting key blasts at everything.
And it's not fun.
No.
Like, I literally had to save state certain boss fights because they take forever with just the hit and run tactics, because they just have way too much HP and they do too much damage. Even if you grind a bunch, there's certain level cap offs, like soft caps we'll say, where, like, the next level takes way too much experience to get to that you just can't reasonably achieve it. And then when you get to the next area, like, the enemies are just spitting out tons more experience, and then you just magically start leveling up a bunch again. So, like, they just kind of soft cap you, and the soft caps are not high enough to take care of anything. The quests are also really basic. Like, the only thing I like about this game is that they did include some, like, cool filler stuff like Snake Way and stuff like that, but, like, other than that, like,
it's a horse shit, poopy, dumb, smelly, dumb, super smelly, dumb game.
Bad game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another word for it. Bad game.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say, Justin?
No, I didn't play Legacy of Goku.
Okay.
Consider yourself lucky.
We have The Legacy of Goku 2 for GBA, released in 2003. Also developed by Webfoot, published by Atari instead of Infogrames.
Yeah, it was around, like, late 2002, early 2003 when Atari took over the publishing rights outside of Japan. Mm-hmm. So everything that Infogrames was doing publishing for, like, Atari just kind of took over because they're like a subsidiary.
It covers the Cell arc of Z and adds multiple playable characters with Gohan, Piccolo, Future Trunks, and Vegeta, and unlockable Hercule. and adds more RPG elements to the game, like multiple stats you can boost, and adds level gates to block progression or hold optional bonus content, and notably adds an explorable world map.
For some reason, not in the first game, which also made traversing around really stupid. I like this game. I say smash. I actually I disagree with Landon on this game.
See, my issue is I got to the part where you're supposed to fight the androids, 19 and 20. And if you know how they work in story, you can't use key attacks on them.
Oh, they suck it up.
Yeah, because they heal. And the only way to play the game is to use key attacks. So now they alleviate.
That's not necessarily true.
It's 100%, 1,000% true. 100%, 1,000% of the time is the only way to play. At least what I was doing is to use like key blasts and key attacks. But fuck you if you want to play as Piccolo, because he sucks. Like, he doesn't get a transformation.
All right, this is a bad game.
Well, I mean, he does.
Well, not enough at that point.
He gets the kami.
He doesn't get
absorption.
He's not a Super Saiyan when you're fighting 19 and 20.
Right.
So
right. So, what the thing is I like Legacy of Goku 2, but there are points early on where like they basically really wanted you to play as a specific character, or else you just won't progress. Like, I think it is at its worst at the point that Landon said, when you're fighting the androids because of the ki absorption. You get Super Saiyan for Vegeta, and Vegeta is the recommended character to play that fight as, because he can just smash right through him. The Super Saiyan transformation boosting his speed, making his attacks more powerful. Now, the thing that Landon was talking about with like the key attacks is that it's the safest way to fight enemies in all three of the games in this series. The first game, it was basically mandatory because you can't just walk up and safely hit anything, because they don't move, they don't recoil, they don't freeze up or anything. You don't have invincibility frames, so if they attack you while you're attacking them, you will die. Legacy of Goku 2 does alleviate this though. If you swing at them and you hit them, it'll make them recoil a bit, and then you can kind of follow it up by just following them and hitting them. And if you hit them into a wall, they'll bounce off the wall. You can kind of juggle them that way. The problem with that is that the attacks did not get much easier to connect than the first game. In the first game, they were already hard enough to connect with your melee attacks. So, I mean, you can do it in Legacy of Goku 2, but it takes a lot of practice, because it's so like the hitboxes can be kind of small. So the safest way to attack is key attacks, but once you get past that point, it's really fun. I think that they do have a few points that are a little too grindy, and because of that, it can make things a little bit boring. But they have some really cool parts, like the part when you have there's a part where you fight Cyborg Tao hidden in like a bunker with some guy whose name I can't remember, and he's like working for him, and like that's how you get one of the Dragon Balls during a segment where you have to get all of the Dragon Balls before the Cell games. So I mean, it's pretty fun. It is still kind of basic, like outside of the stat system, there's no other RPG like stat system and level ups. There's no other real RPG elements to like really talk about. I mean, there's a quest system, but like it's basic, so it's fun. I like it. But, I mean, I actually like the next one better, and I know some people don't agree with this, but I like the next one better.
Okay, I'm going to let you take over for a minute, because there's a cricket in my room, and Momo's going kind of nuts. So
right, the next game was Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury, which was released in North America on Game Boy Advance in 2004. Same developer, Webfoot Technologies, published by Atari, covering the Boo arc this time. You have Goten, Trunks, Gotenks, and Gogeta as playable characters, but you do lose out on Future Trunks, Piccolo, and Hercule. They're not playable anymore in this one because it follows the Boo arc, and everybody else was irrelevant, and Future Trunks wasn't in that arc. But they do add an equipment system, and they also have some like respawning enemy ships that you can go fight on the world map. So you have like kind of like not like they're not static. I guess they're static encounters that like refresh. So this game is pretty much a lot like Legacy of Goku 2. I like it more though because of that equipment system. You start at like level 50 for most characters, and then like there's like a level requirement, so you can get more and more powerful equipment. I like that. Plus, they also made the just general combat just a little bit more balanced. It's still got all the rest of the stuff though, the level gates, everything else. So if you didn't like the Legacy of Goku 2, you probably won't like Boo's Fury, but I still think Boo's Fury is the best out of the three just because it's way more polished and everything else.
Well, maybe one day I'll play it. It's one of the few I don't own, so
yeah. And Justin, you didn't play that one either, right? Because you basically didn't you like not have a Game Boy Advance like at all? So like anything Game Boy Advance you just sat out of.
No, I just I didn't really play the Dragon Ball games on anything that wasn't like PS2.
Fair. All right, Jack, are you back to take over again?
Yes.
So the next game is a game I was alluding to when I said something earlier. Go ahead, Jack.
Dragon Ball Z Taiketsu, released on GBA in 2003. Also developed by Webfoot and published by Atari. It is a fighting game with 15 characters spanning Z up to the fusion arc of Z, as well as including Broly as a playable character.
This is another bad
Because
one.
every fucking game has Broly.
Is that in the notes?
Yes.
Not your exact words, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I was hoping, because every fucking game has Broly was in the notes.
Oh, and no.
Yeah, this game's also bad.
Yeah.
Real bad.
This game is piss. This is the game I was alluding to when I said it might actually be worse than Ultimate Battle 22, which is saying something.
Yeah, these two, I agree. These two are bad.
It controls like piss. The character models are, unlike Ultimate Battle 22, which actually looked decent, are ugly as sin. Like, they went for like a claymation style sprite based approach, and a lot of the characters look butchered and weird and gross and disgusting, and the art is not there. The music is recycled from Legacy of Goku games and also bad, and it doesn't have really like any modes to speak of. Like, keep in mind this was in 2003 and we already were getting Budokai 2, and Budokai 1 already came out, and that has a story mode and an arcade-ish mode and a tournament mode. Taiketsu has tournament mode where you just play as different characters and do certain fights based on those characters, and that's it, and it sucks. So yeah, this is the one that I think is the worst of the fighting games for sure. But thankfully, we did get some better ones.
Yeah.
Any words from you, Landon?
Fuck.
Good word. All right. Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors, also released on the GBA in 2004. Developed by Arc System Works and published by Atari. Mostly unique aerial combat with 13 characters that come in 3 levels, with included characters covering up to the fusion arc of Z.
This is a good game. This
one's a lot better than most of the fighting games we've talked about.
Yeah.
So
I
far.
wouldn't say it's like among the best fighting games of the franchise, but it's better than pretty much most of what we talked about so far. It is definitely better than everything that we talked about so far that isn't a Budokai game.
Yeah. Whenever I go back to either of the Supersonic Warriors, I always forget how to do anything, though. So
yeah.
The combos are like to do combos or like anything like beams or anything. Like I always forget. So I always get my ass handed to me by the second fight. They control weird, like Jack had mentioned with one of the bullet points there. It's mostly aerial focused, but it's also sprite based. So you have this weird, like if you've played like the special stages in like Sonic Advance, like it's kind of like that weird kind of pseudo mode 7-ish look to it without being mode 7. So it's like, it's really weird, but it works.
It's just like it does control kind of funky because it's pretty much all in the air. The second game, I will just take this one real quick because I didn't write a whole lot. It's Supersonic Warriors 2, released on the DS in 2005 in North America. Also made by Arc System Works and published by Atari. It has similar gameplay to the original, though there is more of an emphasis on being able to play as multiple characters at a time in one fight. But pretty much that it's the same otherwise.
Yeah, it's
very weird.
It's just on the DS. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And Broly's on the cover art for that one.
Yes. I know. I Googled it and noticed that.
Again, Broly.
Really trying to shill for Broly, aren't they?
Yep.
Next is Dragon Ball Z Sagas, released for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2005, developed by Avalanche Software and published by Atari. It is the only Dragon Ball Z game for Xbox. I did not know that.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
A linear 3D beat 'em up.
Original Xbox, right?
Yeah. A linear 3D beat 'em up game with multiple levels spanning the Saiyan, Frieza, and Cell arcs of Z, with some unique filler in exploring Yard Rat.
Yes. There's an arc where you can explore Yard Rat. That's...
So you're playing as Nathan Drake.
This game is piss.
This game...
Is it?
I have my opinions of the legacy of Goku games, and there's some other bad games that we've talked about. I probably have more hate for this game than most other games that we're going to talk about in this list.
I love how Super Saiyan works in this game.
Fuck you.
Okay, so this game is it just sucks. Like, everybody who's ever said anything about this game will tell you it sucks. The controls are really bad. It's like it either, just the control really is just sluggish and not super responsive. The exploration, quotation marks, is, again, like so I said it's a linear 3D beat 'em up game. That was not how they advertised it. They were like, it's an open world explorable game. It's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. It's beyond linear.
Close.
It's
like the
one-dimensional.
I would have honestly been okay with this game if it controlled better and had more detail to those linear levels. But between it not controlling well, you have characters uttering the same, like, annoying phrases with bad delivery. Like, you can tell they phoned in these performances. Like, they gave it less of a shit about this game than the people playing it probably did. Like, it's just, this game sucks.
Did you ever play it multiplayer?
No. Did you? Oh no. It's even worse.
Oh my god. Okay, so the exploration parts are whatever. It's more of the same because it's just multiplayer. The boss fights, you switch. So you're on a timer and you switch out between who's playing. So, like, for instance, Vegeta, like, you're like, what, I think it's Goku and Krillin or something is...
Yeah, you can have, like, Goku and Krillin, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
So let's just say it's those two.
The Donkey Kong Country approach.
Yeah, but it's on a timer. It's not like you choose when to switch.
Right.
Yeah, so, like...
That's fucking stupid.
And it could be in the middle of you attacking. It could be in the middle of you being attacked. So, like, if Vegeta decides to do a special beam, like, Gallic Gun, if he does Gallic Gun, you could be taking damage, and then the timer just switches you, and then the other person just starts taking the damage. There's no...
Oh, they just instantly phase right in their place.
There's no grace period.
No grace period, no invincibility frames. You're just in there. It's
so
bad.
And here's the, like, if you don't know, Sagas was supposed to have this, like, progression-based system where, like, you find a bunch of, like, health capsules or key capsules. It'll level up your health or key maximum. You can collect these coins that you can cash in at a quote-unquote shop. And I say shop because it's literally just a big floating Z in the middle of some levels that will allow you to exchange coins for things. And they'll give you, like, different combos and, like, some other, like, special stuff. the first thing that you're supposed to get is like, you're supposed to get like a specific thing to like start you off. The game doesn't really teach you this. They just kind of explain like a little bit to you. And on that note, they don't explain anything when you get dropped into the game. And there's some things that you need to know, like how to charge ki. Key charging is very important in Dragon Ball games. No matter what genre it is, no matter what game it is, if there is a resource system involving ki, you need to know how to charge it because it's usually something you can charge. How do you usually charge your ki in certain games? It might be like one button. It might be a button and being held and then press another button. You'll usually be able to see this. They don't explain this to you, but you have to press two totally weird buttons on the controller that you would not expect to press. It's not even like guard. It's like some button and then like another button. And then you'll charge your ki, but it's also not even instant. It's like after a split second, it'll start charging it. It's just between that and then key attacks just not working well. They almost never hit things when you want them to. And everything about this game sucks. It's bad.
Bad game. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Section 3. So we're out of the Budokai and early Dragon Ball game section. This is like the mid-2000s. This was when they started transitioning, and this is mostly because at this time, Dragon Ball GT was starting to be a thing in North America. So they're going to start incorporating a lot more of that content into these games. And we also would get a totally new sub-series of Dragon Ball games that also became very popular. And they also started experimenting with a lot more handheld efforts, trying to like get them to like a level of quality that's kind of close to the home console experiences. This section has quite a bit of games though, so let's just jump right in.
So to start, we have Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure, released on GBA in 2006. Developed by Dimps, published by Atari. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up/platformer with fighting sub-game mechanics, covering the beginning of Goku and Bulma's adventures in Dragon Ball up to the Demon King Piccolo arc. I take it Lennon likes this game.
Smash.
It's a good one. It holds up well for the most part.
It took them until 2006 to release
a good one,
like
a good game based on Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Well, considering how much marketing they did for original Dragon Ball content,
right?
I'll
let you go first.
Yeah, this
Landon.
it's so fun. It's real simple as a beat 'em up. It's pretty quick. Like you can beat it in like what, 4 hours?
Couple hours?
Yeah, it's only a couple hours long. And it mixes in a couple like stages where it's just a fight. It turns itself into a fighting game. But for the most part, it's like pretty well done. The artwork on it is really nice. The music is done really well. It's just fun to play.
Yeah, I like this game. It's the level layouts can feel a little like samey, but other than that, like the designs for the actual like visual designs for everything, really nice. Just the fact that you can like go through the levels and upgrade your attack, your health, your ki. You eventually get to learn the Kamehameha wave like fully and like use that over time, which I thought was really cool because first, your basic ki attack is just a ki blast, and then it gets a little bigger. And then you get a like ki wave that's not quite the Kamehameha wave, and then finally you get the actual Kamehameha wave, and Goku will even say the name of the attack when you get to the last stage, which I thought was really cool. But it does cover quite a bit of content, and Landon mentioned the fighting game aspect. There's a whole separate mode where you can play just the fighting game aspect, and you can unlock a ton of characters for it.
Yeah.
Like they gave you like, so there's so many different like boss fights and other characters that you'll be able to play against over the course of the main campaign as Goku, and you'll be able to unlock Krillin when you beat the game and play as Krillin as well. But like you can get Yamcha, Tien, King Piccolo, like you can get all these characters. Jackie Chun, like you could just play as them in the fighting game mode. I thought that was really sick. For the type of game it is, they gave you a ton of content. It's really nice. So yeah, thumbs up, good game.
All right, we have Dragon Ball GT Transformation, released on the GBA in 2005. Developed by Webfoot, published by Atari, also a side-scrolling beat-em-up similar to Streets of Rage, covering the Black Star Dragon Ball and Baby arcs of GT.
So, I'll say Smash. I played a bit of it. I should mention Advanced Adventure is more of like a side-scrolling platformer beat-em-up, like you jump a bunch. This one is more traditional beat-em-up. Have you ever wanted to play Streets of Rage but worse?
Yes.
That's basically it.
Can I play multiplayer with Jack?
I think there's a way to play 2 players.
Oh hell yeah!
Let's
do it, Jack.
There might be. So the thing is you get to doing those first couple arcs of GT, you automatically get access to Goku, Future Trunks, and Pan, and you can swap between them in the middle. Well, my bad. Trunks, not Future Trunks. Regular Trunks, present Trunks. My bad. But you get those 3 characters. You get to rotate between them. I didn't play too far in. I was in the middle of the Black Star Dragon Ball arc, and I mean it's fine. Like it plays okay, but it is also an adaptation involving the Black Star Dragon Ball arc, and that was really boring. So most of the story of this game is pretty boring as well.
Hell yeah!
It like I said, it plays okay, but
can't wait to buy it.
Can't wait to buy 10 out of 10.
Can't wait to buy it.
All right.
We got a big series coming up now.
Oh boy. We got Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi, baby, for PS2 in 2005, released or developed by Spike and published by Atari. It is a 3D battle arena fighting game with an expansive roster and destructible environments, which would be a mechanic retained for most games with similar gameplay following.
So yeah.
Just read them all. Just read them all.
All right.
3 of them, and then we
these 3. Yeah, I was gonna say these 3 are extremely similar. So just
they're all published by Spike, and they're all developed by Spike and published by Atari. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 released for PS2 and Wii in 2006. I have played this one, includes Dragon Adventure story mode similar to Dragon Universe from Budokai 3, which covers Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and many of the movies, and the Bardock and Trunks TV specials. And then we have Budokai Tenkaichi 3, released for the PS2 and Wii in 2007, famous for its massive roster, which is among the largest in fighting games, includes a day and night system to allow some characters to turn into great apes. A story mode of Dragon history includes scenarios from Z, GT, various movies, Dragon Ball, and some what-ifs. Which is...
Smash all 3 of these games.
I have only played 2 and 3, but I love both of them.
I played 1 and 3 at first, and then I played 2 recently to touch up on it. Justin, which of these have you played?
I played 2 and 3.
2 and 3?
The gifs that Justin posted in the spoilers.
And then Landon, which ones of these have you played?
All.
All 3?
Yeah.
So I owned Budokai Tenkaichi back in the day. Like, this was actually my first Dragon Ball game I owned. So I played a lot of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi because it was the only Dragon Ball game I had. That said, it is the least amount of content of all of them. You do have a story mode, and there's like different fight scenarios, and you can unlock certain side ones that a lot of them being like kind of metaphorical ones that didn't actually happen, then some stuff that like did happen but was very like brief. So you get like a bunch of different angles of the story with this, but it's mostly just there to showcase tons of characters. The Tenkaichi trilogy as a whole, being an arena fighter, you have your character, you have the enemy character, you have a fully 3D environment that you can move around in. You can use that environment to dodge away from attacks. You can, destroy parts of the environment, like I mentioned. It was very, it was probably one of the pioneers of arena fighters, though, to be honest. Like, it definitely probably was not the first, but like, there was, it made the genre a lot more popular. Like, they made a lot of 3D arena fighters after this. All 3 games have a massive roster, but the 3 is the one that goes.
Especially 3.
Yeah, 3 goes hard.
I don't really have too much. It's been a long time since I played them, but they're fucking good games. Some of the best Dragon Ball games that I've played.
2's my favorite.
My favorite's 3.
You're wrong.
Just because of the roster being that massive.
Yeah, you're wrong. Don't worry about it.
Well, 3 has Z, GT, and Dragon Ball characters.
2 has...
Lennon likes
2 has GT characters as well.
And original Dragon Ball characters. It just doesn't have
many. I'm more talking about future Dragon Ball games would often just have GT, and they just completely abandon Dragon Ball.
I mean, that's true. I like 2's story mode more than 3. That's why.
Okay.
I mean, mechanics.
Yeah, I think the 2's cutscenes were done better.
And it's not just the cutscenes, but I just like how it plays more. I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
They're all good games.
They're all good.
It's just
they're fun.
Like one minor aspect of it, especially since I went super hard because it was like one of the only games I owned for the Wii for the longest time. So like I was like going through and like grinding Dragon Balls to wish all the characters. Like I had a specific stage where you fought Harudegarn, and I would just go let him destroy all the buildings around, and I would just pick up like grind Dragon Balls off of the stage, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And then when 3 came out and tried to play the story mode for that, I was like, but I could be playing number 2.
That's fair.
Lennon likes number 2.
2 had more interesting what-if scenarios, too.
So there you go. Anyone who likes number 3 sucks.
Why do you always do this?
I don't know. Because I have to.
I like 3 the most just because of the roster. It is impressive. Like there's a modding community for Tenkaichi 3 to this day. I will say though, if this might be a bit of a hot take, I do think I like the Budokai games more than the Tenkaichi games.
Ooh.
And that is mostly because I like the actual combat more in Budokai. Not because it's 2D versus 3D. It's mostly because in Tenkaichi, a lot of the controls have to accommodate for your movement in that 3D space. So the actual options you have for attacking are not as robust as in Budokai. Because in Budokai, you have like heavy, light, you have energy attacks. Some of them incorporate like a medium attack in the middle there. With Tenkaichi, you just have like your melee attacks and then key attacks. And then you can do like grab-based stuff with like the, with a combination of 2 buttons as well. And that's about it. So like I just like the fact that the Budokai games have more. But the Tenkaichi games though are still really polished. They still play really well to this day. And I mean, they're better than some of the games that were similar to it that we're going to be talking about coming up. So
counterpoint,
you know,
the Wii Tenkaichi games have waggle.
Damn,
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you could do the Kamehameha. You just shove the controller in front of you.
That's true.
You could, you did like stuff to make you feel like you're doing it. It was dumb, and I loved it.
I mean, that's a very good point. Like some of the cool, like there's a couple of Dragon Ball games that do this, only a few though, but like they have the motion controls and they're just like, here, do the motion controls. And it is fun to do it. It is fun to try that out.
It's like one of the games that handles like Wii motion controls like
surprisingly well.
Decent, especially since it's a fighting game. And you need to be like pretty accurate with stuff, but they handle it pretty well.
It helps that the attacks in the series are so iconic and they do the same poses every time. So it's just, it's good that they just had good people able to adapt that. But yeah, that's the Tenkaichi series. They're good games. Moving on.
All right, we have Super Dragon Ball Z, released on the PlayStation 2 in 2006, developed by Crafts and Meister and published by Atari. It is a traditional fighting game similar to Street Fighter, originally in arcades and later ported to PS2, featuring 18 playable characters representing various arcs of Z.
I didn't play this one. Pass.
Cloud was originally not even going to include this, but I said,
But it was on PS2.
But what if you did? I will say this game has a unique version of Mecha Frieza with a fucking rocket.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like a rocket launcher.
Yeah, on his shoulder, and that was actually done up by Akira Toriyama. He drew that for this game.
That's cool.
So there you go. We can move on now.
Yep.
All right. We have Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, released for the PSP in 2006, developed by Dimps and published by Atari. Similar to the Budokai titles on PS2, with a story mode based on the events of Fusion Reborn, but taking place 2 years after Kid Buu's defeat.
You go ahead and add the next one in here too, because they're similar.
Shin Budokai Another Road, also for PSP in 2007, also developed by Dimps and published by Atari. New story centered on Majin Buu appearing during Future Trunks' timeline, gameplay-wise very similar to previous title.
I played both of these.
I played a little bit of one of them.
Smash.
And they work as fighting games.
They function.
If I remember, Shin Budokai had this weird system with transformations where you actually had to pick the character's transform state in order to even access it, because otherwise you'd be stuck in their base form.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in both the games. I think it might just be in one of the two. But yeah, this isn't a thing that's only in these games. There's quite a few games that do this, but it's one or two of the only Budokai style games that do this. Because usually the Budokai games you can just transform into the different forms, but the one or two of these they didn't do that. I don't know why. I do like these games though. They're solid. Like Landon said, they function. They're surprisingly good versions of Budokai that just happen to be on PSP. I like Shin Budokai Another Road more just because of that unique storyline. The original Shin Budokai does have a different storyline because it's it does do Fusion Reborn, but it is also after Kid Buu, so it is slightly different. But this one's just we didn't really see them adapting Majin Buu stuff into Future Trunks' timeline really all that much at this point, so having a game that's centered around that was really cool. Plus it was just different. So many of the stories of Dragon Ball games you play as Goku or Gohan or somebody else it's mostly Future Trunks that you play as in this game, so it's pretty cool. Obviously though, the rosters are decent though. The rosters are not as good as the Tenkaichi games, but they're good. But moving on. Can you pronounce the name of this next game?
I've been reading it over and over to make sure that I don't fuck it up. Dragon Ball Z Haru Kanaru Densetsu, released for the DS in 2007, developed by Bandai Namco and published by Atari. It is a card battler similar to previous Densetsu games.
Now, should be worth noting, we did not get any Densetsu game over here. And so that might not mean anything, but basically they are RPGs with card elements, turn-based ones. It's most similar to Legendary Super Warriors, but not quite. That's as close as we can really get it. But it is the similar gameplay to a game that a lot of people would play as a ROM of when they were getting into Dragon Ball games at the time, which was a lot of people did a fan translation of Legend of the Super Saiyan, which is a Super Nintendo game that mixed two of the previous NES games together. But I don't know. I didn't play it. I just know it has similar gameplay to that stuff.
I own it. We saw it in my collection.
Yeah, it is in his collection on our Patreon exclusive video. You can look at the box art for it if you want. Or you could just Google box art. But you'd rather have Landon holding the box art. That's better.
And that only cost you $6 for 1 month.
Yep.
There you go.
Plus, you get to see all his other cool stuff.
That's true. For $6 for 1 month.
Stuff much cooler than Haru Kanadu Densetsu. But
all right,
like his 8 copies of Runner.
No, actually, I didn't. I only showed off one of my. Actually, I showed off for Runner 1 or Runner 2.
Wait, was it Runner 1 or Runner 2 that you had like on every platform ever?
Both. The answer is both. I showed off the Bit Trip for Vita and Bit Trip Saga for 3DS because I only showed off my handheld games. And I showed off Runner 2 Runner 2 for Vita as well. Anyway,
all right, let's jump through because we still got another section and a half or 2 sections to get through. So, next game
we have Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit, released for PS3 and 360 in 2008, developed by Dimps, published by Atari. It is mostly similar to the Budokai games, covers the Saiyan, Frieza, and Cell arcs of Z, and it is the first entry into the new generation of home consoles at the time.
I feel bad.
I only
about
had
this
a
game.
Wii for the longest time. I always looked at the ads and for this game, and I was like, man, I wish I could have that game. And then I got a PS3 and I own the game, and I've never played it.
I'll say Smash,
Perfect.
but just to talk about it, I played a little bit of it. But Justin, you were going to say something?
Oh, I'm probably the one that has the most extensive playtime with this one.
Oh yeah, I only played like a couple of hours, so I'll just get what I have to say out of the way, and then you can talk a little bit about it. But the main problem with this game is that it clearly wasn't finished because it came out early in 2008, and it has a lot of motion blur, which Jack is already not a fan of that. Quite a few people do not like motion blur, and that is perfectly understandable because sometimes motion blur just looks really bad.
I love motion blur.
And there's also frame rate issues in battle, which is not good for a fighting game. You don't do bad frame rate in battles. That is a cardinal sin. It's not like so bad that it's unplayable, but like you can feel it. It's kind of jittery. And then they only got to the Cell arc, so they probably wanted to do more and just didn't have time. That said, like the gameplay's okay. The art style is really nice. Like it's an early PS3 game, and it like if it was just looking at screenshots, I would say it looks fantastic. It's just in motion, it looks like shit. But I mean, it's okay. But that's all I really wanted to say. It's pretty much the same as Budokai. Justin, you can go ahead and talk about it though for a bit.
Yeah,
just try to keep it brief though. We do have 2 more sections of games to go over.
This is basically Budokai if it was really pretty, and that's basically it, because there's a lot of problems with this game, namely, cutscenes repeat themselves a lot.
Yeah, there's so much cutscene emphasis.
Now, I will say, this is mostly like towards like the end of arcs and stuff, like the final fight with Frieza. The unique cutscenes are fucking fantastic to watch. They're some of the best cutscenes in the entire fucking franchise. They also, in my opinion, have like the best like voice acting quality from Sean when it comes to...
The voice acting... Yeah. I would argue for quite a few characters, like this is probably some of the best voice acting we've had for the pre-Kai cast, like, period. Because like some of the voice acting can feel kind of phoned in, but in Burst Limit, no, the voice acting is pretty good.
Yeah, like, just watch the cutscenes just with the Frieza fight. They're fucking amazing. But, they also did this weird thing with the key. Key doesn't charge anymore, like, you don't do it manually. All key charging is automatic, and attacks do not use key. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's funky. Like, you can tell they didn't finish this game.
Yeah, it's... I wouldn't say it's broken, it's just...
No, it's not.
They didn't know what to do with it.
Like the combos and like all the attacks, like they work fine. It's just there's missing stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I like I like the Z Chronicle story mode though, like the fact that like you've got like the different arcs, and depending on which missions you do, it'll unlock like other missions. It's kind of like Tenkaichi 1, but with Budokai gameplay instead. So it's all right.
That actually remind me, the cutscenes that I just talked about. Those can actually get annoying because if a cutscene plays, which actually does happen in regular gameplay, it will interrupt everything. If you were in the middle of a combo, boom, your combo has just been canceled.
That's the thing I didn't like. I liked the least about this game. Like everything else, like was kind of tolerable, but like there's cutscenes that just like literally stop everything you're doing in the middle of fights. It's so weird. And like some of these cutscenes, you have to actually like unlock to get points for your score at the end of the fight.
Yeah. It is funny.
But moving on.
Oh, I was just gonna say it is funny to see Broly throw a Senzu Bean to Goku.
Yeah, there were some really weird things that happened in the game like that. But moving on, there was a game that came out on the PS2 to wrap up this era of Dragon Ball.
We have Dragon Ball Z Infinite World for PS2, released in 2008, developed by Dimps, published by Atari. It is the last Dragon Ball game released in North America for the PlayStation 2, as well as the last game published by Atari before Bandai Namco would get back exclusive publishing rights to the game franchise. Made for players who didn't have a PS3 for Burst Limit, released previously that year, and is mostly similar to the Budokai games. Story mode covers most of the same covered arcs, with minigames thrown in between battles.
So, who played this game? Who else played this game? I played it.
Nope.
I actually, I think it's the only PS2 era game that I don't own.
It's not great.
Isn't what is this? Isn't Infinite World just kind of more or less a re-release of Budokai 3?
So basically, but the problem is the story mode sucks. Like so gameplay, so like the actual gameplay of like just combat and everything, that's fine. That's okay. Everything else around Infinite World is either rehashed from 3 or is just bad. Like the story mode, you have like this like world map, but like you don't it's not actually like 3D or explorable. It's kind of like if you had a chess piece or like some other game piece moving around the board for the game Risk. Like that's how it's like. And you move around to different spots to fight the different characters. And then there's one point after you've done like a couple fights where you have to progress by doing. So the first thing you do is you have to do a mini game where like you jump through these hoops to get a feel for Goku's control. And then you do some fights, and then you do a bunch of training missions, and then you can continue to move on to like the rest of the stuff. The problem is, one, the 3D gameplay is juxtaposed to the actual regular combat being 2D, and the 3D gameplay just controls bad. Like, it's I'll say it's not as bad as Saga's, but it's bad. Like, it's so generic. It's just you collect coins, jump through hoops, and Goku controls like shit. Like that's it. It's like it's bits and pieces of Saga's but worse. And the Snake Way, there's a mini game where you can do Snake Way. Same thing. It's shit. It's just a different area. There's also like a mini game where like you can try to catch bubbles on King Kai's planet. Don't do it. Yeah. It's not a fun time.
I'm curious then. What do you think is the better sort of like not Budokai, Infinite World or Burst Limit?
Oh, Burst Limit for sure. Like at least that game is fun enough that I wanted to keep playing it. When I got to all the training missions in Infinite World, I stopped playing because one of the training missions has you doing certain evasion techniques, and one of them is extremely particular, and I just could not pull it off. Like they wanted you to do 3 sets of one type of evasion, and then like a special evasion that's like a little bit more precise, and like that one I just couldn't do it. Like they have like 3 different levels, and I just couldn't do one of them, and I was like, I'm not playing this anymore. So like the fact that it was required was stupid. I gave up. But the next, so before we jump into the last 2 sections, we got to do our usual, we got a Patreon, Patreon, if you'd like to support us there, starts at $3 per month, which will allow you access to our polls. We have voting on like what we're going to do for content in the future regularly. And it also just helps support us. It keeps our RSS feed going so we can continue to put this podcast out to as many platforms as possible. If you subscribe to the $6 tier, you also get Patreon exclusive content, as we've been talking about earlier. We had a really cool video where we show off a bunch of our game collections. Not everything in our game collections. It's the first volume of a series. So if you want to get into that, that's also good. And of course, you can find us on our Discord server. We have a link to that server on our page or in the description. Wherever you're seeing this, there's a link to our Discord somewhere there. So if you want to join us, talk to us, we're for it. We like having new friends, new people to talk to in that server. It's pretty fun. We talk about all sorts of video game stuff. But that said, we got to jump back into some Dragon Ball games. Section 4 is a very interesting section. It's basically like a new generation of hardware, and they decided to branch out and do a bunch of different stuff for this. So you'll see, rather than focus on like 2 separate series of games or 3 separate series of games, they just kind of said, okay, there's a DS, there's a PSP, there's the new hardware of like the 360 and PS3 and the Wii and everything. Let's just make a bunch of different games for all these different systems. And that's what this next section is going to comprise of. So why don't we just jump right in and start with the first one on this list.
Okay, we have Dragon Ball.
You can do both of the next 2 together.
Okay, we got Dragon Ball Origins, released for the DS in 2008, developed by Game Republic and published by Atari. Overhead action-adventure game with heavy use of touchscreens similar to The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. Covers the Emperor Pilaf and 21st Martial Arts Tournament arcs of Dragon Ball, as well as Origins 2, also released for the DS in 2010, also developed by Game Republic, published by Bandai Namco. Same gameplay as prequel, covers the Red Ribbon Army and Fortune Teller Baba arcs of Dragon Ball.
I only got to the first one. I didn't get a chance to try the second one.
Same.
They're fun. The first one's fun, I should say. But the levels take a little bit.
Yeah, they're kind of long.
They're kind of long, especially for a game that grades you on how long you take in a level. It's kind of rude.
Yeah, they're like chapters and bite-sized pieces, but the bite-sized pieces take forever.
Yeah. And then Bulma, I don't know if this is true in the second game, but Bulma is like a sidekick in the first game. And like you get Ki and HP for both Goku and Bulma as like unlockables in stages. And then Bulma is running around for most stages, and it's an escort mission basically. She has a gun, but she kind of sucks at like defending herself. But she will follow the critical path, and so if you want to do any sort of exploring, fuck you.
So you gotta spend your entire time keeping an eye on her.
Yeah, you kind of have to clear out the whole critical path and then go like get your like collectibles, because there are like little statues in the game that you can unlock that are whatever, but it's mostly like to find the extra health and key upgrades.
So one thing I found interesting about these games is that their strong suit is not the thing that makes most Dragon Ball games really enticing for a lot of people, which is combat. The exploration, if you could do it, like being able to just run around on the maps, is pretty fun. If it weren't for Bulma being, so like she should just be following you specifically, but she doesn't do that. Like she'll veer off, like Landon said, and it does make the game. It feels like the game wants to be like 2 things at once, and it's not really good at either of them. It's kind of neat, but like I do think that it's you definitely have to be in like a certain mindset to really fully enjoy these games. But that said, it is still nice to see some Dragon Ball games actually covering Dragon Ball, and I mean these are not too bad if you're looking for games to scratch that itch.
Yeah, If I had more time, I would have like sat down and played more of them, like more of the two of them. Like they were fine. They were fun.
All right, next game.
All right, we have Dragon Ball: Revenge of King Piccolo, released on the Wii in 2009. Developed by Mediavision and published by Bandai Namco. It is a 2.5D side-scrolling beat-em-up, which covers the Red Ribbon Army through King Piccolo arcs of Dragon Ball.
Pass. I didn't play this, and one reason, Landon will tell you for me.
I played it, and I got to the second fight with Mercenary Tao and got locked. Like, the game was just like, yo.
Handing you your ass?
Yeah, it was like... So the game's not... Up to that point, it's not hard. It's, like, pretty straightforward. Like, all the fights are, like, kind of fun. Like, even the boss fights are, like, you have a good time with them. And then you get to the second Mercenary Tao fight, and you have 2 phases on 1 health bar, and he's very aggressive. And you don't have a lot of times where you can stun him and counter his attacks, which is where a lot of your damage will come in. Is like you just get a chance to like stun the enemy and counter attack them when they're in the middle of an attack. He doesn't give you very many opportunities to do that, and so you have to do. There's no health refills. There's nothing. You have 1 health bar for both fights.
That sucks.
And if you game over, you start over from the beginning of that.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah. So like I got locked into that, and it took me like an hour and a half to get to that point. And that was like about halfway through the game. Honestly, at least a third of the way through the game, but because it's not super long. Yeah, I would give it a shot, like using an emulator, just so you can save state.
Yeah, when he told me how much of a difficulty spike that was, I was like, well, I played Advanced Adventure, I really liked that, and I think that's enough for me. Like, I was just like, I'll sit out on King Piccolo.
Yeah, well, we'll have a round 2 of this podcast, and you'll have to play it.
The next game is very interesting.
Time for the funniest entry in this entire document. Dragon Ball Evolution, the video game, released for the PlayStation P, the PlayStation Portable in 2009, developed by Dimps and published by Bandai Namco. It is a Budokai-style 2D fighting game adaptation of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie.
Why?
Smash. Did anybody else play this first
God,
before
no.
I talk?
Fuck
Lord,
no.
So
Tommy, no.
here's the funny thing. Dragon Ball Evolution, the movie, a plague on humanity, a plague on this franchise. Although at least we did get super out of it because Akira Toriyama was like, I can't let that be the end of Dragon Ball. But the funny thing is, the game actually pretty good.
Well, I mean, it is developed by Dimps.
I'm not kidding. Here's the funny thing. Sorry about my mic bump. So the critic average would have you believe this game sucks, and certain review critic sites have been like, "Oh, this game's trash." But the thing is they're just fed up with Budokai style gameplay because they liked Budokai 2, 3 to an extent. They weren't big fans of it like some people are, but I mean, they were like, yeah, they're okay. So they were just kind of sick of the gameplay. But that said, the gameplay, the actual combat, is super fun. It's very solid. It's responsive. It's the same as the Shin Budokai games, same as the Budokai games, like they said. And it's pretty well balanced, and it's really nice to be able to play as characters like Goku, Bulma, Chi-Chi. It's weird, obviously, that these are really bad adaptations of these characters because it's an adaptation of the movie. But this is the only game where you'd be able to really get some of this outside of Tenkaichi 3, possibly, depending on the character. It's just it gets a lot of hate because it's an adaptation of a shit movie, but the game itself is actually solid. Like, yeah, the story mode, because it's an adaptation of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, is stupid. The line deliveries are bad. And the voice acting itself is also, while not itself bad, it is kind of annoying. Like, almost every character has some attack string where they cap it off with "eat this."
I think it would be really funny if, like, instead of getting the actors from the movie to voice their characters,
no, that's the funny
game,
thing. They didn't do that.
No. That's what I'm saying. What if they used the Funimation dub
They
for
didn't.
these characters?
They didn't do that either.
But what if hearing like Sean Shammel's voice come out of like fucking
like
high school
live-action
Goku?
Yeah. And like let me point this out. Like, I've already said this. I don't hate Dragon Ball's Evolution's plot because it deviates from the main plot. Like, I like a lot of games where the plot is not the main Dragon Ball plot. It's just that this one's really bad. It's shit. It's so bad. It's terrible. Yeah. But the funny thing is like the gameplay for this game is really good. You don't know what's funny though? You know who voices Goku?
I have no idea.
Yuri Lowenthal. Oh. Yuri Lowenthal. Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
I recognized his voice right away. I was like, that's Yuri Lowenthal. What is he doing in this game?
Fresh off a voice in Yosuke in Persona 4.
Yeah, it was the year after. So yeah, I think the game is fine. If you want to play it just to play the game, but yeah, don't watch the movie if you haven't, because the movie sucks. But let's move on to some other really interesting stuff this era.
We should do a Patreon watch of Dragon Ball Evolution.
We should. That would
honestly,
be fun.
We should. Let's do it.
It's a Spookfest title, Jack.
Oh, fun. All right, we got Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans.
Smash.
Released on the Nintendo DS in 2009. Developed by Monolith Soft and published by Bandai Namco. A turn-based RPG covering the Piccolo Jr. arc of Dragon Ball and the Saiyan arc of Dragon Ball Z, with other references to Dragon Ball peppered in. Featuring 6 playable characters in Goku, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Piccolo, and Gohan, who can be customized with points to level up skills and different stats.
Landon, this game is so good.
It's really good. It's probably the best game we'll ever talk about ever. Period.
It's so good. Like, this is spoiler alert, this is one of my favorite Dragon Ball games now. And I did not get to play it until prepping for this podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, it's really good.
The only sin this game committed was not getting a sequel.
It's funny because it's a fully fleshed out game right up until you until you beat Vegeta, and then that's when it like really kind of falls apart, because it's like exposition really heavy, and then it has a teaser for Frieza,
and we never get the game.
Yeah, well, I guess there's also
it's
the
probably
Broly tie-in, but
yeah. I think the problem is just because this is 2009 Monolith Soft, so they were probably transitioning to being a subsidiary of Nintendo. So they just, for whatever reason, availability, legal situation, what have you, they just couldn't make a sequel, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Bandai could have got another one of their teams to work on it.
Maybe. But yeah, Monolith Soft did an amazing job on this game. It's a good 25-ish hour game, I would say. 20 to 25 hour.
25 to, I would say, cap at 40 if you're going for the Broly.
The Broly boss fight, yeah.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, it we alluded to with the bullet points. So you have you can play as 3 characters at a time. There are situations where you might only have 1 or 2 depending on, what part of the story they're adapting. But they do throw in a lot of references to OG Dragon Ball into this story, well before Piccolo Jr. arc stuff. And some of it's mostly oh, this character's back again. Monster Carrot comes back and takes Yamcha's hideout. So Yamcha beats the shit out of him early into the game. Tien goes to learn the Mafuba and visits the resting ground of Master Mutaito. Mm-hmm. It's there's just a lot of really cool stuff. Krillin goes and visits the Orin Temple and then like saves them from an attack. Like, there's just so much cool little stuff that you get, like story-wise, world building, just lots of nice stuff to pepper in to really just kind of give you a more fully fleshed out experience other than just Piccolo Jr. arc, Saiyan arc, done. Like, no, it is more than that. There's a lot more than that.
So way more than that.
The music is so good.
Top.
Like, it's really good. Like, yeah, no, just really solid turn-based RPG, and in a franchise that only has like a couple of turn-based RPGs specifically that we got. So like, if you like turn-based RPGs, get yourself Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans. The combat system's really fun. You can do different special attacks. You can like do group attacks if they're all in a certain sparking state. It's not super complicated. It's pretty simple, but it gets the job done, and it's just really good stuff.
Alrighty.
Plus, you can go into the devil's toilet and beat up some people that are taking the
Yeah. Yep. They have a pair of bosses named Ladies and Gentlemen.
That's funny.
Yeah. Fun game.
Alright. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team. Released for the PSP in 2010. Developed by Spike and published by Bandai Namco. It is like Shin Budokai was to Budokai, Tenkaichi Tag Team features 3D arena-style fights with up to 2v2, and it is the first game to feature a cast of Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Yeah, I mean, I played it. It's fine. I didn't play too much of it. If you're looking for a PSP version of Tenkaichi, there you go. It's good enough. Did anybody else play Tenkaichi Tag Team?
Pass.
No, this is the only Tenkaichi I did play.
Cool. Moving on. Jack, next two games, ravel them up together. They're basically the same thing.
Alright, Dragon Ball Raging Blast and Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. Raging Blast released on the PS3 and 360 in 2009, developed by Spike and published by Bandai Namco. One of the first Dragon Ball Z, or Christ, I keep saying Z. One of the first Dragon Ball games to get DLC with free content added through 2010. Gameplay similar to the Budokai Tenkaichi games with new features. Story mode is Dragon Battle Collection with different tasks that can change how the story plays out, with events covered spanning all of Dragon Ball Z, as well as what if scenarios that can unlock a secret ending. And then Raging Blast 2, released in 2010, also for PS3 and 360, same developer, same publisher. Mostly similar to the previous game with a larger roster, including some what-if characters like Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Includes a remastering of the OVA Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, released as Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans, whose antagonist, Hachiyak, can be unlocked by watching said OVA.
So,
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Smash. Yeah, Hachiyak.
Yeah, he's a really good.
Landon, did you play these games?
I have not.
Justin, you have though, right?
Yes, I own both.
I played a little bit of both of them. I played like a couple hours of the second one and like an hour or so of the first one. They're okay, but they actually have like they're very hard to learn because the buttons required for like all the different attacks are just all over the place. Like there's a set of attacks that you have to hold. Like it's kind of like Xenoverse would become, but it's less refined, more vague, and harder to really like get a grasp on. But they're all right. I think my main issue with the games is that unlike Tenkaichi, which has reasonably decent camera for a 3D arena fighter, the cameras in these games are bad, especially the first one. If you are not on the same level, like the same Z-axis as the other character, fucking good luck trying to see anything, dude. But, I mean, the character roster, especially in the second game, is pretty good. The story mode in the second game specifically is pretty good because you get like these like scenarios where you have like a galaxy style map and you can go on different branching pathways, and it's just a short map for each character, but you get one for like every character, so you can just play a bunch of different types of fights and scenarios with whichever character you want. Pretty freeform, gives you a bunch of different options. It's alright. I'm just not a big fan of the actual core gameplay, because it's already not as good as Tenkaichi, which I already like less than Budokai, but I still really like. So it's just kind of like a step down for me, anyway, personally. But you can go ahead and talk about the games a little bit, though. Yeah, go ahead. Give us your experience.
It's kind of like, it kind of felt like a somewhat expanded version of like Tenkaichi. Obviously, it wasn't the same, but like you could do a few extra things that you couldn't in those games. Like one of the things that was kind of interesting is that if you were close enough to a wall and you kind of knocked somebody into it, they'd get stuck into it, and you could get like some free hits off of them. Another thing that I personally think is pretty cool, because it's probably the most Dragon Ball thing that they have in these games. If somebody shoots a key blast at you, like the really big ones, if you time it properly, you could just slap it out of the air. And,
yeah, I did like twice. It is pretty neat.
Two particularly, I can't remember if both had them. I want to say they both had them. But the Raging Blast games, once again, suck Broly's dick, but this time they make him Super Saiyan 3 for some fucking reason.
I don't remember if Broly's in the first game, but honestly, I wouldn't doubt if he was in there because, again, Broly's in fucking everything.
The funny thing is, the two forms, the only thing that they really change is that his ultimate literally, like, is just a different attack from one of the movies. Like, one of them is the original one from, well, actually, no. His ultimate attack that everybody always, like, does is the one from Second Coming. But his ultimate in as Super Saiyan 3 is actually the one from, I think, the first movie. The one where he kind of, like, headbutts, I think it was Goku as he comes down on the ground. He does, like, this weird sweep. I don't know.
Huh, interesting. All I know is that, like, the main reason I want to play these games is because Raging Blast 2 had that OVA.
Yeah, I saw it.
Hachiyak literally only shows up in that OVA and this game. They, like, never bother to bring Hachiyak back in any capacity. He is in one or two Japan exclusive games that are, I think, in the similar series as the Densetsu games. But other than that, like, Hachiyak's, like, in nothing. Like, there's nowhere else can you really play, like, as Hachiyak. It's weird. Like, they did Hachiyak with the plan to eradicate the Saiyans OVA, brought him back for Raging Blast 2, and then just did nothing with him afterwards.
He's in Dokkan Battle.
Is he?
Okay, that's fair. I mean, everything's in Dokkan Battle, but
not everything's in Dokkan Battle.
We'll talk about it. We got a spot for it for you specifically.
It's just also, this is not relevant anymore, but I had a love-hate relationship with two particular, because one was, I think, the last, unless it's just a game I didn't play, one was the last game that had the original Z-Cast before they went to Kai.
Raging Blast 2, I think, did have Kai. I can't remember.
No, it does. It's
weird
because,
like, yeah, because it's weird because, like, Raging Blast 1 came out, like, shortly before Kai started, and then Raging Blast 2 came out shortly after, so, like, it was just a weird window.
Yeah. Oh, it won't be as weird as Ultimate Tenkaichi, which we'll eventually get to.
Oh, this is the next game. In fact, Jack, introduce it to us.
Segue.
Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi, released on the PS3 and 360 in 2011, developed by Spike and published by Bandai Namco, similar to the Tenkaichi and Raging Blast games, but with more cinematic elements, with presentation mostly lifted and tweaked from the Raging Blast games.
I'm being generous here.
One of the first games to feature a creatable character who plays through their own adventure mode with a story involving Omega Shenron and the Dragon Balls.
Which is probably the nicest thing I can say about this game.
I can't wait for Cloud to stream it.
No, I'm not streaming this game. This game is piss. I'll talk a little bit about it, but this game's bad. So, like, did anybody else play this miserable game?
I think I played a little bit of this game at, like, a friend's house once, but I never really played it extensively.
So when we talk about Dragon Ball fighting games, be it Tenkaichi or Budokai or even Raging Blast, some of the cool things that you want to do are you want to have a decent level of interaction with your opponent, decent combat system. You want to have, flashy moments from that can reenact parts of the show sometimes. And you want to be able to play as your favorite character and just, go to town. Ultimate Tenkaichi is a game that is fun to watch, but it is not fun to play because, as some people have said in other YouTube videos that I've watched, and basically anybody that talks about this game, and I say game loosely, is it takes all of the combat out of a combat-centric game. You can start combos, but as soon as you knock them into anything, you get a similar to Budokai 3's Dragon Rush style minigame, where you hit a button, and then your opponent hits a button, and then depending on the button result, you either win or you lose, and that's it. It's rock, paper, scissors, 90% of the time. Also, they do these big flashy cutscenes for literally everything, and sometimes you do an attack, and then it just leads to a 5 attack string that does 7 different camera angles, and then asks you to do that stupid bullshit Dragon Rush style minigame that can determine whether you win or lose. Also, you know how in fighting games when you need a very easy visual indicator of all of your vital stats, like your energy, your health, all of that? Ultimate Tenkaichi does not do this. You know how you tell what your health is? It's a number. It's a 5 or 6 digit number up in the top. In a fighting game, how the fuck are you supposed to keep track of that shit? Yeah, the number does have a color, so it goes from blue to yellow to red, but still, that doesn't give you a good idea of how healthy are you, how unhealthy are you.
Well, I think the obvious answer is that this isn't a fighting game. This is extreme rock, paper, scissors.
Pretty much. And then the key bar is worse. The key bar is a little speedometer looking ass piece of shit that fills up, and it's they had the heads up display is bad. There's no actual gameplay to this fighting game. The only fun thing that I liked about this game was the character creation. You get to their story mode. It's similar to Tenkaichi 2 or Budokai 3. You have that same world map. You get to run around and you can go to different destinations, do different fights. It'd be fun if the gameplay was fun, but it's not. So it's a bad game. Good presentation, which is more than I can say for Taiketsu or Ultimate Battle 22. Still a bad game. I don't know if there's anything.
The presentation does get old after a while when you see the same animations over and over again.
Yeah, it's worse than Burst Limit in that regard. Let's move on, though. We got one more game for this section, and then we've got a different final section.
It's time for the second funniest game in this list, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect. Released exclusively for 360 and its Kinect peripheral in 2012, developed by Spike Chunsoft and published by Bandai Namco, features first-person fighting with 50 playable characters using the Kinect camera to directly control your character with limited movement and dodging, and covers the arcs of Dragon Ball Z.
What characters?
It's a pass.
It's a first-person... What is it? Why...
Yeah. Why is there
so you can see different sleeves when you're punching, Landon.
Yeah, you could usually rosters are important, but you could have cut the roster down to just an essential 15 or 20 characters to fight against, and but it's a Kinect game, so why they put way too much effort into this roster. I didn't.
Maybe
play
one
it,
day I'll buy it.
I've heard it's exhausting to play because it's literally you're doing exactly what you think you're doing.
I said buy it. I never said play it.
That's true.
Because play it implies that you have to buy a Kinect and a 360. Well,
I own a.
Do you have a 360? Yeah, that's right.
That would imply you have to buy a Kinect.
I also have to get the Kinect adapter because I have an original model 360. So I guess it's not happening.
Fuck that.
Any other words on Dragon Ball Z for Kinect?
The only thing I think I can remember is that it's using the same engine that Ultimate Tenkaichi is.
That makes sense. I think they said that on the Wikia page when I was looking up info on this game. So this last section is a pretty interesting section, and I'm just going to call it the section of the new era of Dragon Ball. Starting with the very first game from this section, we have new content thanks to the Battle of Gods movie, and then that would lead into Resurrection F. You'd get Dragon Ball Super, and they would start doing a lot more extended universe, like alternate multiverse kind of stuff for these games.
We call it Heroes.
Well, that's not the game we're going to talk about, but it is in there.
Yeah.
But you do have a bunch of extra like timelines now that.
But that's the extended universe. It's just Heroes.
I mean, I'm just trying to encompass everything because there's like some not entirely canon, but sort of kind of.
This is where Dragon Ball got a little squirrely.
But let's just jump into the first game on this list. Jack, hi.
We have Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z, released for PS3, 360, and PS Vita in 2014. Developed by Art Dink and published by Bandai Namco. Features 3D fighting with team-based combat, including a story mode with missions covering the arcs of Z. First game to include the new Battle of Gods content, including God of Destruction Beerus and Super Saiyan God Goku, as well as one of the first games to include Super Saiyan Bardock.
So that is cool. I played a little bit of this, so Smash, I guess. Anybody else play this a little bit?
I played this.
Nope.
I own it.
You said you've played it, Justin?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
This game is janky.
It's weird. So like
half the time you feel like you're in a combo and you can't pull out. Like once you commit, that's it.
Yeah.
Like you need to finish it.
Right. Like you can't like guard cancel stuff, so like you basically are just stuck in there. And like it has like Tenkaichi style combat, so it's a lot more movement based with like some basic combo strings. But it's like even more basic than that. Like you don't even have like a lot of special attacks really. So it's like it's very simple. The presentation is nice, but like it's also bare bones. You start the game with just the mission mode. You can unlock local co-op, and then you can unlock an online mode to play online. There is no like multiplayer like head-to-head locally though. And you don't get these extra modes until you've done several missions at least, so it's like it's weird. The voice acting delivery is good though. The character models are nice. It looks nice. It plays really weird. So like,
I will say there's one good thing that came out of this. This was like the seeds of Xenoverse because of the like 3-on-3.
Oh yeah, like because of that team-based mechanic, like you can feel that like they have an idea of something they're going for, even though it's different developers. Like they definitely adapted some of this stuff into the next game, which I'm sorry, the next couple sections, because it's Xenoverse, have a lot of shit bullet pointed here. But Jack, go ahead.
Alright. We got a big one. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, released for PS3, PS4, 360, Xbox One, and PC in 2015. Developed by Dimps and published by Bandai Namco. It features 3D fighting and heavy emphasis on a created character with a unique story involving Demon God Demigra. Jesus Christ.
Are you falling apart? Do you need me to take over?
No, I got it. Demon Dog.
Demon Dog.
As well as Toa and Mira, with 5 races to choose from: Earthling, Saiyan, Majin, Namekian, or Frieza race. It has a heavy usage of RPG elements like a leveling up and stat system, and missions that drop items, equipment, and skills to customize your character, and including a hub world to access the various modes and shops. A large roster and dozens of missions spanning all of Dragon Ball Z, several specials, and some movie content, namely Broly's Second Coming and Battle of Gods. It received DLC through later into the year that includes content from Dragon Ball GT's Baby, Super 17, and Shadow Dragon arcs, and Resurrection F movie, being one of the first games to include Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, Whis, Golden Frieza, and the first to include characters alongside Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta.
Those characters alongside the Super Saiyan Blue characters, specifically.
Oh, you forgot featuring super armor.
Featuring super armor.
Yeah.
So
Christ.
let's talk a little bit about this because I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the sequel. But this was.
Remember when it launched?
Remember when it launched?
And the online didn't fucking work?
Yep. Guys, remember when I didn't
play it right now and the game still kind of
doesn't work?
But
yeah.
So the problem with Xenoverse 1, especially if you're playing on console, because if you're playing on PC, it's a little bit better. But if you're playing on console, it's similar issues to like burst limit. The frame rate is bad. Trying to play online with others can get really choppy. And as Justin mentioned, they decided to just give lots of enemies in this game super armor just cause. Like,
just to make it harder.
Like the combat system is pretty fun. Like, it's a lot more fluid, freeform version of like the Tenkaichi games. It just has more emphasis on like direct character control rather than like situational, like character versus character stuff, since you can have multiple characters fighting on each side. But I mean, you'll see. But the sequel did like everything that this game did, but better.
Yeah.
Credit where it's due, though. If we didn't get this game, we wouldn't get a second one. And this was like the first major game in the franchise for North America to really revive the interest in Dragon Ball to the level that it has. Because like Battle of Z, Ultimate Tenkaichi, like even like the Raging Blast games to a lesser extent, they still had a decent following. Like, this is around when like a lot of people fell out of Dragon Ball, if they were still on board at all. And Xenoverse really pulled a lot of people back. They were like, yo, I can make my own character and beat the shit out of Super Saiyan 4 Goku? Sign me up.
Actually, now that you say it like that, I'm going to go pop in my copy of Xenoverse right now. See ya.
Hey, while you're at it, do you want to pop in both of my copies?
Your PS3 and PS4 copies?
Oh, sorry, 3 copies, because I have 2 copies on PS4.
Thank you.
For some reason.
Oh, that reminds me. If you didn't get it when we did, like when it came out, you forever have an incomplete roster.
Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta was never re-released.
Yeah. It's weird how they did that. They also did a similar thing with there's like a crossover thing with Goku and like wearing a Naruto outfit, and I think it was like one of the Raging Blast games, or it might have been Ultimate Tenkaichi. But like,
no, I think that was Battle Z.
Battle of Z. Oh, that was that Battle of Z?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was Battle of Z.
That was Battle of Z. Okay, so yeah, like the only way to get him was to like, it was like an early thing, like, so it's weird. But one thing that Xenoverse really brought us, and the second game also does a lot of, is a lot of fun, hammy, quotable things that characters say.
I'll kill you someday!
I'll kill you someday!
It isn't over yet.
The Big Getty Star enabled me to cheat death. How can this be?
Can't I change the future?
Everything!
Bill, it's hurting!
There's so many good quotable lines in that game.
So this is the best game because of that.
No, but
I'm kidding.
But the
second mentor system sucks.
Yes, it does.
So there was a mentor system in the first game and in the second game as well. And the mentor system in the first game is you hopefully find a mentor out in the hub world, and then they will take you in, and then you will hopefully get a new mission from them. It is RNG the game. Like the 2 Xenoverse games are known for their RNG, but the first one is shit about it.
It's so fucking grindy because it's such a random fucking chance to get like a skill or an item that you want.
I took forever to get Super Saiyan 2 because it's a random drop.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like,
me and Landon tried to do like the ultimate finishes like all the time, and we never fucking got what we wanted.
That's another thing. Ultimate finishes 2 in the first game are not guaranteed.
Correct.
You can do everything correct to set up the ultimate proc, we call that, and then the ultimate will not begin, and you just get cut to, and then like you just push to the mission clear. You could do everything right, everything 100% right, and then the game is just like, maybe we'll let you do more of the mission.
And then even if you get the ultimate proc,
you don't
maybe
know
we'll
if you're
give
gonna
you
get
the skill.
Yep. like there's RNG, and then there's like RNG within RNG within RNG within RNG, which is Xenoverse 1 specifically. Thankfully, they made a sequel though.
Speaking of, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 released for PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2016, and later the Nintendo Switch in 2017.
Oh, smash that!
And temporarily Google Stadia in 2019.
Oh god!
I had to mention it.
Also developed by Dims and published by Bandai Namco. Gameplay similar to previous game with a larger hub world and more side content while adding more story and side missions.
And fixing the game.
Fixing the game, yeah.
It has a unique story that largely covers the arcs of Z with many what-if scenarios and content from various movies and specials included, as well as adding Resurrection F content to the base game, with Toa and Mira returning from the previous game as the main antagonists. It received years of updates and DLC covering the arcs of Dragon Ball Super, GT, more of the Dragon Ball Z movies, as well as Dragon Ball Super Hero.
It's Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
That's the name.
And more what-if scenarios.
Gohan Blanco is real. So this is my favorite Dragon Ball game. Like, I can't even like. I'm not gonna pretend to like hype to like, you know, just kind of build up anything. Like, I love this game.
This is Bandai Namco's favorite Dragon Ball game too.
Apparently,
yes, it is.
Well, at least
okay, you know what?
Console game.
I was gonna say, for a console game, it's their favorite game. We'll get to it. It's literally the next game. We'll get to it. But there is another game that's probably their actual absolute favorite.
They have two others that are a little bit more of the cash side of it. But
so Xenoverse 2 just fixed everything that Xenoverse 1 did wrong and then just made it better. Like, you still have the core gameplay, but they don't have super armor on everything. They actually allow you to guarantee start the ultimate versions of missions as long as you do everything right. They're just like ultimate. Okay, there you go. Drop rates in general are higher. I mean, it's still RNG based. It's still, you know, meant to be played to be grinded out. So, you know, there's going to be some of that, but it's better. And then just outside of the main story, the base story, like, it might not have as much polish as the first game's story, but like everything else is just like better. Like, you have more characters to fight. You get stuff like Turles and Lord Slug incorporated into the story. You have you can have the Xenoverse 2 or Xenoverse 1 hero imported into Xenoverse 2 incorporated into the story. You have a lot of, you know, crazy shenanigans that you can do on top of like the first game. Plus they added a Hero Coliseum, which is basically just a teaser for like Dragon Ball Heroes gameplay. There's there's so much. The mentor system is fixed. As soon as you get to a certain point into the game, if a character can be a mentor, they're there, you talk to them, you can do there's like a ranking up system that works with those mentors, and as long as you have the certain rank, you can keep doing their stuff, and then they can give you access to all sorts of different techniques, just like they could in the first game, just a lot more consistently. Transformations, there's transformations for every race, and unlike the first game, they're not like random drops. You go to like these like new time signatures based on each race, and you can just unlock them as soon as the plot opens that up for you. There's now expert missions, which are essentially like raid bosses, so you can team up with a bunch of people and take on these raid bosses together. And then they made actual raid bosses on top of those. So like, there's so much.
So what is the crystal raid system they have, where you're the raid boss?
Yeah, you get to be the raid boss. There's some missions that are like a tie-in with Dragon Ball The Breakers, which is a game that we'll be talking about coming up. Just there's so much, and even if we don't talk about the DLC, which adds a lot more stuff, even if we don't talk about mods, which I mentioned the modding community for Tenkaichi 3, the modding community for this game is just as crazy, maybe even crazier. But even just the base game, I think my only major complaint is like this small nitpick that is just, I think a lot of people probably had. Bro, why the fuck do you keep detransforming every single cutscene in the story missions? It's stupid. Like you turn like Super Saiyan 2 and then like Majin Buu comes in and like there's a cutscene and then you're back in base and then you have to transform into Super Saiyan 2 again. It's like, bro, just let me stay in Super Saiyan 2. Like, thankfully the PC has like a patcher so you can fix this, but if you're on console, fuck you then. You gotta retransform. Because
your character was really strained being Super Saiyan 2 like during that whole end cutscene in Xenoverse 1.
The only the saving grace is it's only for the story missions, so if you're doing parallel quests with like other players or with yourself, like you don't have to worry about this, but it still sucks. But I mean, other than that, like this game just does everything better than the first game. Arguably.
The best part is you can play as Krillin and have Krillin, and Krillin on your team.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You can do that. 3 copies of Krillin. Remember when 3 copies of Krillin fought Super Saiyan Broly?
I do. It was yesterday.
I always loved that, like when you guys would have ridiculous scenarios in Xenoverse, you would just say, remember when Piccolo, Goku Black, and Android 18 fought Super Boo or some shit?
Yeah, just have all this wild shit.
I also like to do, I used to do the Great Goku Massacre videos.
That's true, yeah, he did. Every version of Goku fights, on one side or the other.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a fun game. It's fun to play with friends. It's fun to play by yourself. Like it's a blast. It's my favorite game.
The best part of the game is starting with the Switch release. They released the Xenoverse 1 story that can be played in Xenoverse 2.
Yep.
So you never have to play Xenoverse 1.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
You literally never have to play Xenoverse 1 again. You can and it's literally like they nickel and dime you for all the DLC, to be fair, but like they gave you a lot of content for that pack and it's $10. You literally get all the story missions from the first game and it's like $10.
So, I mean, a lot of times it
goes on
make
sale.
It free.
Yep.
And that's like for the Switch release originally. It was like, you can just get it for free. So.
And I don't know if they still do this, but they had for the longest time like a free trial version of the game called Light version, and you could play up till I think level 50 and up until the Frieza arc, so you could get up until you get your flying license basically, so you can fly around the hub world. And you can just play all that for free, plus some parallel missions that go up to that point. So like if you just wanted to try the game out, you could just do that.
I want to say they discontinued Light, but...
Yeah. I believe it. But yeah, Xenoverse 2, we've talked about Xenoverse 1 and 2 a lot.
They really need to make a third one.
They do.
They really do. I want them to make a third one because I want to get into Xenoverse again, because like I bought Xenoverse 2 on launch day and I never played it. And I think Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I think it'll help a lot because Xenoverse 2 is now coming up on, as of the recording of this podcast, 7 years old, which means that it's running on an engine that was even older than that. So it would be nice to have a more next-gen experience out of this series because it really deserves it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they keep making DLC for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's time for the best one. It's time for Dragon Ball Z Doku Adventure.
Yeah, good answer, Steve. Good answer.
Also known as Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle.
Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, released for iOS and Android in 2015, developed by Akatsuki Incorporated and published by Bandai Namco. Free-to-play mobile game with gacha elements to unlock various characters and their different forms in the form of cards used to assemble different parties. Features its own unique story with various other game modes and constantly updating adding new content to the game, and probably Landon's most played video game ever.
Is that what you wrote as one of the points?
No, I didn't. No. I didn't write that last part.
That would have been.
But I'm glad Jack added that in.
It should have been.
Landon has literally been playing Dokkan Battle for this entire fucking podcast,
and he's been playing Dokkan Adventure essentially since it came out. Give or take.
A little bit after.
I'm currently at. I took a screenshot of it. I'm currently at 2,381 total logins. So that's how many days I've logged in.
And you play it every day.
Just about.
I have 626 consecutive logins currently.
Nice.
So that's
nice.
I'm almost 2 years of straight playing the game, not missing a single.
How many total logins was it?
2,381.
And that's different unique dates that you logged in?
Correct.
Wow. That is roughly 6.5 years total.
Yeah. The game is, for the North American release, we just had the 8-year celebration. So I've been playing for quite a bit of time. Yeah. I guess I'll talk about the game. Shut the fuck up, Cloud. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why my arm hurts
swatted
now.
Your arm aside.
My arm slightly hurts now.
I go flying into like a boulder and it like just breaks apart like in a scene from the show.
Hell yeah. So as Jack read the bullet points, it's a card-based battler. What you do for fights is you have a team of 6 that you make of like random cards, but you usually pick your leader based off of what their leader skill is. They'll give you buffs based off of specific categories. And then you build your team around that. You get one friend unit that is loaned to you for that fight, for the mission. And then there is a map that you like move around on. You get a random number generated by the computer between 1 and 6. Some of the maps have different yields of like movement, so you can only move 1 square at a time. Some of them randomly 2 to 3 or something. And then you'll get into a fight. And then the fights, there is a grid of orbs. You charge characters' keys based off of the orbs you collect. And you do attacks. Every unit has a specific type. So there is super for good guys, extreme for bad guys. And then there is 5 different colors. It is glorified rock, paper, scissors. I say that because each color has advantage and or disadvantage against another one. So like blue units are agility units. Those guys are strong against strength units. Red units, they're weak to tech units, which are green units. But then the thing can get reversed if you're super versus extreme. It's a little complicated. And then your units, when you are fighting, have links. So depending on the links, they'll get different buffs. A common one's like Fierce Battle, where it gives both characters additional attack. And you just have fun little animations. Characters will do some sort of super attack when they pass certain key thresholds. But it's a gacha game, so you have to have the cooler that does this fancy entrance animation and does 2 different attacks, because he's a LR as opposed to another cooler who can transform mid-battle, but he's only a TUR.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a million different rarity levels.
Yeah.
Normal, rare, super rare, super rare, ultra rare, legendary rare.
Okay.
And TUR is just true UR. It based off of like how you can evolve units. Because you get medals to evolve units up to their full potential.
So you can make it true.
True
classic.
True classic.
True classic.
I have a bit of like a theory, obviously, like it's not proven or anything, but I wonder if they looked at Ultimate Tenkaichi and decided, what if we made a pure like rock paper scissors game instead of pretending that it's another Tenkaichi game?
Listen, 2 things. 1, don't insult Dokkan Battle like that, and 2, don't compliment Ultimate Tenkaichi like that.
Well, it's not real rock paper scissors because you can use a unit that has a disadvantage to a certain type
and still win, right?
And still win, depending on strategy, because there is a little bit of strategy which goes into it.
So it's probably a little bit closer to like maybe Pokemon.
Kind of.
I mean, you collect stuff, you build a party based on different attributes.
Yeah.
And those attributes can be better or worse than another attribute.
I mean, the biggest thing is you can't switch out your party in the middle of a thing.
Because it's like a whole party at the same time thing, right?
Yeah, you use your 6. There are some fun modes that will let you. There's a mode called Virtual Clash, which lets you choose 120 odd units to start off, and then you have to continuously make parties and challenge. It's like 10-ish fights.
Interesting.
And you when you use certain units, like after that fight, regardless if you win or lose, you can't use those ones anymore.
Interesting.
So that
it's
mode
like an Iron Man sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very strategy based because you're like, okay, you can kind of see a preview of all the different like types that you're going to be fighting. So like level 1 will have like 1 unit that is strength and 1 unit that's agility, and then you go into the next one and it's like, all right, you've got like 3 fights this time, and there are these 3 colors, and the last one's like 5 fights. And the final boss is this color, so you like want to build your teams, use them up in that. It's probably the mode I look forward to the most. It doesn't reset often enough. And that's the mode, actually, that they recently added the Hachiyak.
Okay.
That you can get as an LR unit.
Oh, yeah.
Alright,
I'm done talking about Dokkan Battle.
let's move on to the next game.
I'm fighting Bardock.
Good job.
And I just shot him. He died.
It's time for Dragon Ball Z Extreme Butoden, released for the Nintendo DS in 2015. Developed by ArcSys, published by Bandai Namco. 2D fighting game with up to 3v3 battles with characters included, covering the arcs of Dragon Ball Z and some side content, and some of Dragon Ball Super. Several different single-player modes, including a scenario mode different to each character, and an adventure mode with various world maps.
This game's pretty good.
It's solid. It's probably not the best of the Butoden games, but it's still a lot of fun. The story mode is like a little weak because it's like what?
It's just them refighting the same people. And they're just back again, and it's like whatever. And there's a lot of like dialogue squares where you just have them talking to each other. Yeah,
but the adventure mode is pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. So one thing I didn't mention is I say up to 3v3, and that's because the unique aspect of this game is that there is a core roster of characters that you can use for actual full combat, but there's also a large cast of basically just assists characters, and they'll come in and they'll do a thing based on which character it is. Like Chi-Chi will scream at the top of her lungs and obscure some of the screen. Certain characters like forms of Frieza or Cell that don't appear as actual playable characters will just pop in, they'll do a certain attack. So you can't use 3 characters if you use assists, but your assists, you can actually use like basically up to 2 assists per what would be a character slot. So you could have like 1 character and 4 assists, or you could have like 2 characters and 2 assists, or you could have just, 3 characters. You can mix and match. You could have like, a combination of them. I basically I agree with what Landon said. The adventure mode is actually pretty neat. You have, it's like a weird adaptation of the story where it's like it's like time forward, more present, but like they're still fighting old enemies again. But it's,
that's the mode where you get most of your assist units.
Yes, it's where you're going to unlock most of the assists. My only major complaint with the game though is that the roster's not great.
No, it's not.
It's like the roster of playable character. No, so the roster of playable characters is like, I want to say it's like 20 to 25, but the problem is that most of them are repeats. Like you have like 4 Gokus, 3 Gohans, like 3 Vegeta, 2 or 3 Vegetas, like, so half the cast is already taken up with just multiples of these same characters.
So I was right. It is like 10.
Basically, it's like 15, but still. So like,
it is 10
how in most, well, yeah, but the thing is there's not like a billion other characters is the problem. So like, how in like a lot of the Dragon Ball games where like you'll have your mainstays and then you'll usually have like a decent amount of like other stuff, because usually you always have Frieza, Cell, Buu, and then you'll sometimes have like all forms of Buu. You might have like Dodoria, Zarbon, all of the Ginyu Force. Maybe you only have like 1 or 2 of the Ginyu Force. You literally only get Ginyu, Final Form Frieza, Perfect Cell, Kid Buu, not even Majin Buu. Oh, I think you do get regular. No, you don't get Majin Buu, do you? I'm forgetting, but you don't get Super Buu. He's not in. That much I'm 100% certain of. There's no Android 18 and 17, even though Android 18 is like in most of the games where there's a playable fighting character. There's no Rikum, who is usually in most of the games where there's playable Ginyu Force characters. So they're missing. There's like Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, not playable. They're assists only. They're not even fully playable characters. Yeah, so like this game's roster is just not great. And you know who we got in their place with all those mainstays being taken out and being put as assists? Bardock and Broly. Again.
No surprise.
But I like Bardock.
I mean, yeah. Bardock is pretty fun as a character. It's a shame. Like, there's so many characters that are only assists that really should have been fully playable characters. Like, there's no reason characters like Krillin and Android 18 should be relegated to assist when they absolutely should be playable. But
Bardock and Broly both have their fans, but for different reasons.
Right. But yeah, that's my only gripe about the game is the roster's not
a playable character.
Oh, she is? Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking of all the other androids.
I just pulled open
16, 17.
Yeah, I just pulled it open the list. 18 Bardock, Beerus, Broly, Ginyu, Cell, Frieza, Future Trunks, Gohan times 4, Goku times 4, because he gets access to base Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, Gotenks, Kid Buu, Krillin, Majin Buu, Nappa, Piccolo.
Okay, so Majin Buu is in there.
And Vegeta.
Oh yeah, no, they have Nappa, Piccolo, and Vegeta. So they have like full Saiyan Saga representation. And then like almost nothing from the Frieza saga except for Ginyu and Frieza.
Yeah.
And then only like Android 18 and Cell from the Cell arc. And like Kid Buu and Majin Buu from the Majin Buu saga, like nobody else. So it's like the roster's seriously lacking after you leave the Saiyan saga.
Yeah, and I mean even like the Z fighters, you
have like half of them.
You have Krillin, Goku, Future Trunks, and Vegeta.
So Tien and Yamcha are the ones I'm forgetting.
Yeah, those are the two big ones that you're missing.
So it's weird. There's just a lot of bizarre exclusions from this game, but it's otherwise really solid. I mean, it is Arc System Works that did it, so like the actual gameplay is solid. It's just not as good of a roster. Plus, when you do like the ultimate rush attacks where like there's like a screen transition and they do an ultimate attack at their opponent, they're kind of laggy. Like they take a little bit to like to go through the animation, It's like kind of slow-mo, but it's still pretty cool.
No Hercule, no thank you.
Dragon Ball Fusion.
Next
released
game.
for the 3DS in 2016. Developed by Ganbarian and published by Bandai Namco. Has its own unique story revolving around a pair of friends wishing for the ultimate tournament to take place, with heavy emphasis on the concept of fusion. Turn-based RPG with strategy elements, with a custom character that can be one of 5 different races: Earthling, Saiyan, Namekian, Off-Worlder, and Alien.
Those actually encompass like almost every race that's ever appeared in Dragon Ball ever. Like they just fused a bunch of them into like an overall arching race. So Kai's, Frieza race, demons, like all that shit, it's in there.
Characters included cover Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super up through the Goku Black arc.
This game is amazing. Like, not enough people played it, and I think that's probably because it's a 3DS game.
Might also be the chibi models.
Yeah, it's not a style for everyone, but other than that, it's
got a unique gameplay loop.
Oh yeah, like you can collect tons of characters, you've got different world maps you can explore, challenge characters on the overworld, collect stuff, do fusions. It's so good. Good stuff.
I would love a sequel.
I would too.
It's so fun, and there is a lot of fun, unique fusions that you don't get to see enough of outside of the game. And Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which features crossover content of fusions.
So, just to kind of explain a little bit more about how the game's gameplay works. So, for the combat, it's turn-based, but it's inside of like a circle, and that circle you have movement that you can do. And when you do attacks, the enemy characters that you're fighting, which will usually be up to a party of 5, which is equal to your party of 5, you'll be able to knock enemies into each other. Oh wow. That's Pinich, right? The rival?
Yep.
You'll be able to knock enemies into each other. You can build up a gauge for each character. They'll have like certain amount of like little circles for like their ki. And a lot of their special attacks will take up 2, 3, 4, up to like a total of, I think it's like 10 or 12. And you can let out these more powerful attacks by doing them. Or you can just do basic melee or basic ki attacks. And then you can also do like this weird pentafusion. I can't remember what they call it, but like all 5 of your characters fuse together, and then they just do this gigantic ultimate attack that does a shit ton of damage.
Forgot
and
the
you
name
get
of that
to,
one.
Yeah, and you get to like do some like QTE style events for those. So like that's the core battle system in a nutshell. And like Landon said, it's a lot of fun. You don't have to actually participate too much in the fusion aspect. They show you how to do it, but you don't need to use it too much. But like, there's so many different fusions you can do, both with just generic characters and actual cast characters. So it's just a really solid game, and I do agree with Landon. I hope that it gets a sequel at some point eventually. Oh wow, and that's Tekka.
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
And then they have a lot of the fusions as well. Well, not a lot of them, but some of the major ones.
Disappointed the fusion between Frieza and Cooler isn't just Fridge.
I can't remember how many specific, what the number was, but like between all of the actual characters you can use, and then just like the generic characters that you can get access to that are different races, I think there's like 1,000 different combinations you can get for characters.
Wait, doesn't Fusions bring back Gokul and Tianxia?
All of those fusions that you remember in that game somewhere.
The only one who doesn't come back is the Krillin Cell fusion.
Yeah.
Right.
He's the only fusion that does not come back for that game. And Lord as my witness, God, I will destroy. That's my statement.
But
you will destroy.
I will destroy.
Okay, Beerus.
As a special boss fight with Grade 8 Broly.
Thanks.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Fusions. Really good, underrated game. Check it out. Next game.
Next stream game? Question mark?
Maybe.
Potentially. Next game is another big one. Dragon Ball FighterZ. Released for PS4,
Smash.
Xbox One, and PC in 2018 with a Switch version later that year. It was developed by ArcSys and published by Bandai Namco. It is a 2D fighting game with Arc System Works' typical team-based mechanics, with characters covering the various arcs of Dragon Ball Z and the first several arcs of Dragon Ball Super up through the Goku Black arc. Received DLC support for several years, adding more characters covering some movies and specials, some characters from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super. A unique story revolving around the character Android 21 in her Majin form. Gameplay for the story similar to Budokai 2's Dragon World. Graphical style extremely close to the manga.
So yeah, this game is...
This is, if I had to pick one, probably my favorite Dragon Ball game.
Nice.
It's really fucking good. I mean, like, Arc System Works is, like, extremely good at what they do, which is, you know, gorgeous looking 2D fighters, and this is a gorgeous looking 2D fighter, and it just happens to be extremely fun to play. It's very easy to, like, it's like one of those, like, easy to pick up and play, difficult to master type games. I would say the vanilla roster is, like, a little small, but there's a shitload of DLC for this game.
The vanilla roster of fighters is still better than Extreme Butoden's, though. To be
True.
fair.
But this is also
better represented.
This is also a console game, to be fair.
True. And they definitely had a better budget. One last thing I wanted to say about Extreme Butoden before I forget. Did you know that it was a crossover game with a One Piece game? So you could play, like, between those two games?
Yeah. I think I did know that, yeah.
But we didn't get the One Piece game over here.
Isn't that badass?
That's super badass.
And, like, One Piece is as popular as Dragon Ball over here.
Yep.
And
no reason they couldn't have done it.
Tons of video games. In fact, there was, like, at least, one or two for the 3DS?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is like, Extreme Butoden, they didn't localize, like, the voice cast. It just uses a Japanese voice acting. So there was no reason why they couldn't have just done the same thing for the One Piece game. Anyway, let's move back on to fighters, though.
Remember when this game came out and the online also didn't fucking work?
Hey, Bandai. Yeah. Bandai fucking Namco.
Fix your goddamn online, please.
Yeah. It's like the one thing.
The one thing they're really bad at. But no,
I don't remember when it's supposed to come, but they said that they were supposed to be doing rollback netcode for this game. Which would be fucking amazing if they haven't already implemented it. Do so.
Yeah. But no, fucking... This is a great game. I have, like, very few complaints, if any. I mean, I even played through, like, the entire story mode when it came out.
Story mode's pretty fun.
The story mode's good.
Oh, yeah. It's solid.
It's no Budokai 2 story mode, but... Or Budokai Tenkaichi 2 story mode, but...
I think it is better presented, though. The character interactions are just like
hilarious.
Yeah, incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like I had mentioned in the bullet point, like, everything in this game just oozes style and just care and attention. Like, you could be fighting on anything and it looks gorgeous. All the characters talking in the cutscenes, it looks exactly like if you were reading it right out of the manga. It's just gorgeous presentation. The game feels really good to play as well.
It makes you feel like you're playing as Goku.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me, Goku.
I like the fact that, like Jack said, it's pretty simple to pick up, and unlike some of a lot of the previous games that we had talked about, there's actual it's to it being a newer game. It has button mapping, so you can just map whatever buttons you're most comfortable with using for whatever things. And you have different types of light, medium, heavy, special attacks, and you can chain these together, and they'll do, like, auto combos if you do attack certain ways. So it's just a lot of fluid gameplay and just really solid, just fun, just great combat. On top of a great package of everything
great
else.
gameplay, great graphics.
Hell yeah!
I'm surprised they haven't done a Fighters 2, but I guess there's no money in making new games when you could just make DLC forever.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, nowadays, like, fighting games, they don't try to make too many new ones as frequently as long as they can just milk it with DLC, which is one day we'll get it Fighters 2.
But we're in the middle of a new like console generation,
right?
So
Yeah.
like,
What do you think will come?
Eventually, maybe.
What do you think will come first, Fighters 2 or Xenoverse 3?
fuck,
Honestly,
Probably Fighters 2.
neither. Probably the heat death of the universe.
Yeah.
If I had to pick
so
one.
from what I know, it's probably going to be Xenoverse 3, just because there is talk of it supposedly, like they're something. I don't believe it until I see it, but like it's more likely we'll get Xenoverse 3 before Fighters 2, just because of the fact that Xenoverse 2 is an additional 2 years older than Fighters. But
There's also
know.
also the fact that Arc System Works has like 2 other game franchises that they like own and develop, which they.
Meanwhile, Dimps is just working on mobile game stuff right now, so like they're not.
Yeah, exactly. Arc System Works is too busy with Guilty Gear.
Which I want to make a mention with all of the games that we've talked about that Dimps made. Don't let anybody tell you that Dimps is a bad developer just because they complained about one game that they did or did not do.
But they made Sonic Rush and it's Boost to Win. I don't like it.
Yeah,
it's like
what
they
he
made.
said.
It's like they made all of those games from the span of like early 2000s to late 2000s and still managed to make almost all of them fairly decent to solid games. So like,
Yeah.
Dimps is pretty fucking good. And
Yeah,
Arc
but they
System
made
Works.
They made
really
Sonic, so
true. Justin, what did you want to say about Fighters Z?
It's the game that introduced the chick everyone likes to simp for.
gross.
Yeah, true. Everybody has turned like Android 21 into like a mommy, and they just.
You're all gross. Gross and weird.
We already have 18.
Exactly, thank you.
I like Jack's response. We already have.
Yeah. And Chi-Chi.
No, Android
and
21's
Bulma.
a solid characters though.
And Bulma. Like,
I'll say if between this game and a few others, I like some of these new game exclusive characters that they start out like introducing. Like Android 21, she's actually made her way to like they have her origin character in Super like referenced. But it's just nice, like these characters like Toa, Mira, Demigra, Android 21. There's just a lot of good original characters that they're coming out with lately, and I like it. I'm for it.
The only sad thing is, technically, the only original game characters that matter are Mira and Toa, because I think they're the only ones that are canon.
They're semi-canon. Android 21 is also supposed to be canon. They also, there's another character that got introduced in a game coming up, but we'll talk about it when we get there. Was there anything else anybody wanted to say about Fighters?
Not
everything, right?
really.
Good game.
Great game.
Let's move on to the next one.
Dragon Ball Legends, released for iOS and Android in 2018, was developed by Bandai Namco and Dimps and published by Bandai Namco. It is a free-to-play mobile game with gameplay somewhat similar to 3D Fighters, with new characters including protagonist Shallot, as well as a unique storyline taking place after the Tournament of Power.
Yeah.
Never played
never
it.
played it.
Pass.
I never played it either.
I'm the only
Pass.
person that would play it, but
The funny thing is like there's a following for this game, but like there were people that like play mobile Dragon Ball games, Dokkan Battle, and they were really hyped for Legends. There were people that were playing console games that were hyped for Legends, and then the hype just kind of died. Like everyone just kind of went back to whatever they were doing.
people
There's
still
a couple
play
people
it.
that play it. Yeah, it's just it didn't keep that same level of popularity that the other games did.
Legends didn't take off like Dokkan did.
Right.
Yeah, people still play Legends, and I mean there is a small sect of Legends players that complain about Dokkan Battle, but those people are wrong. Fight me.
Next game.
Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission.
Super
Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission.
You.
Thank you.
Released for
Jesus.
released for Nintendo Switch in 2019. Developed by Dimps and published by Bandai Namco. It is the first release of the Dragon Ball Heroes property outside of Japan and includes a unique story mode where the characters in-universe collect the characters of the Dragon Ball franchise for team-based strategy battles and introduces new characters like the protagonist Beat. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So like,
I know these characters.
So like,
am I reading this correctly?
So the gameplay is it's weird. So like, you collect these like cards / figures, like they're like cards mostly.
Cards,
and
yeah.
they're different characters. They're different instances of characters, similar to Dokkan Battle, but you assemble parties with these characters. They have different strengths and weaknesses, and then you fight other characters who have their party of characters similar to that. It's I like the story mode for it though. It's pretty funny. They have like this character, like Great Saiyaman 3, that's like he's dressed
from Dokkan Battle.
Yeah. Oh, did they bring
him?
Did they bring him over from Dokkan Battle? Or
No. They have a card of him.
Dokkan?
They have a card of him in
Battle?
Dokkan Battle.
God, they fight everything. I think the main thing that people will remember about the Heroes series is that it has an anime. So they have like, a bunch of little episodes where, you can watch certain fights that they've made up take place. They have, it's an alternate universe. They have a bunch of different like extended like
they have Golden
Cooler. Scenarios. They have stuff like Golden Cooler. They have like
Golden Mecha Cooler.
They have a variation of Goku Black named Crimson, who Mask Saiyan, who like gets to like Super Saiyan Rose 3. Like it's bizarre. They have a bunch of weird shit going on with that, but it's interesting. World Mission does like I put in the synopsis here. It's for some reason the first time and so far only time we've really gotten a Dragon Ball Heroes game outside of Japan. They had like 3 others or something. It's like
there's 3 on the 3DS.
Was Heroes the one that had that Abomination Cell X?
Yes, that's from Heroes.
Oh god.
Yeah. They do a lot of weird shit.
Yeah. It's like an actual card game in Japan. Like you can get the cards and they have like kiosks,
full machines
where you play. They actually like test demoed it out in North America 2018, I think. They were supposed to have it at I went to Rose City Comic Con that year, and they were supposed to have it there, but like it was like so popular in Comic Con that year, San Diego Comic Con, that like people were like stealing cards and stuff to where they couldn't like run it, and the machines were like down, so they're like, sorry. It was like, fuck you.
Well, you kind of get practice for that game if you played that, was it that figure mini game that was in Xenoverse 2?
Yeah, well, like I said, they it was more like a tie-in for Xenoverse 2 specifically to get that sort of content. It was to help kind of like bridge people into Heroes, because Heroes was already an existing thing for the longest time till then.
Yeah.
So, but we got 2 more games to talk about. One of them's a pretty big one. Well, let's finish this up so we can get out of here.
We got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, released for PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2020, Nintendo Switch in 2021, and PS5 in X and Series X/S in 2023. Developed by CyberConnect 2 and published by Bandai Namco, it is an action RPG that follows the events of Dragon Ball Z from the introduction of Gohan through the Buu arc, with adapted events following more closely to the manga. Playable characters include Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and future Trunks, with various support characters that can accompany the player for battles including Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, Android 18, Goten, and Kid Trunks. Combat system similar to the Xenoverse games, and features large open areas to explore and side missions to complete, with characters from across the Dragon Ball franchise appearing similar to the Legacy of Goku games. Has DLC that covers Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, the Future Trunks and Bardock specials, and the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament.
With more to come, we don't have all the DLC for it yet. There's going to be more.
There's at least one more story pack.
There's one more story pack, and there is supposed talk of an extra like season pass of content, but we don't know what's coming. So this is all we know so far. as of this recording. But we have the game, and that's important. We're just going to talk about the game as we see it. This game is really good.
It's a solid action RPG. It's surprising, like, it took them this long to do another, like, action RPG.
Right, yeah.
But, like...
Because, like...
They got it. We did it.
Yep. They kind of took aspects of Xenoverse, aspects of the Legacy of Goku games, and they just kind of like, apple pen. Pineapple pen.
It's Legacy of Goku, but it was sensibly made.
Yeah. It was, so like, the only thing is with this game, if you liked the aspect of the Legacy of Goku games where like they had a lot of filler stuff, or just in general, like you like Dragon Ball games that have a lot of like filler and like other stuff that's not in the manga and anime, you will not get that here. This is like strictly following as much of the manga and like the main, like the like a Brit, like Dragon Ball Z Kai as well, since they cut that to be close to the manga. Like it covers like that.
It does. The sub-stories like, usually add stuff that you don't get in either of those. Like there's a little extra storyline with Ader,
right?
Where he actually interacts with Future Trunks during like the Cell arc, which is fun.
Because they bring some characters back that were only like in Dragon Ball, and you get to see like how they're doing, and they get to interact with the characters as they are in the Dragon Ball Z section of the story, which I think is really nice because like we don't get enough games that do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
because it's like, where's Ader? Where's Launch? Where are all these other characters? It's like there's a game that finally actually has some of these people show up and talk to the characters that are existing.
Yeah.
So
I haven't played any of the DLC except for the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, and I only just started that the day before recording this. It's cool.
It just did come out recently,
yeah,
as of our recording.
Yeah, it came out like 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Pretty recent.
One, it's cool that TN's playable because you actually get to play as TN in that segment of the game. And it's also stupid badass that it starts off with Kid Goku versus Demon King Piccolo. Like, they're just like, alright, there you go, have fun. And that makes me even more mad because we could just have a dragon, like, where it just covers all the Dragon Ball arcs. But
it's like they're like cock teasing you.
Yeah,
they're just like, we made this character, but we're not gonna do more stuff with it.
Yeah,
you get one fight.
You could have the Red Ribbon Army and shit.
And like
so
they have justification too, because so the enemies in this game, you have a lot of random encounters on the overworlds in like the large open areas, and it depends which area you're at, what those enemies are, but they very frequently make use of Red Ribbon Army robots, and it's like, okay, why don't we have a Red Ribbon Army like thing? Just give us a Red Ribbon Army arc now. Like they could do that.
They could do that. They could have.
I've heard that the Bardock and Future Trunks DLCs are also really solid.
I've heard that. Eventually I will play those, but nothing gets me more excited than a little Piccolo Jr. action.
Right.
Because that's a fantastic fight.
Goku gets fucked up in that fight.
Yeah, he does.
The weird thing is like, so they call this Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yeah.
But because they follow everything so closely to the manga, they even still cut some stuff that was in the manga, like, out, that's not in this game. Like, you don't do, like, anything with, like, Snake Way. Like Goku runs down Snake Way to, like, go meet King Kai, but that just, like, doesn't really happen in the game. Like, it just cuts to, Piccolo training Gohan, and you do a lot of that stuff.
Because that was too, like, they'd probably make you, like, actually run it, and it's, like, too much of a long linear path that people get bored.
Yeah, maybe. It's just weird, because, like, they stuck so close to the manga, so I understand why they didn't have filler, but they also just straight up cut certain stuff out, and it just skips around. Other than that, though, like the gameplay itself is solid. The combat's fun. Leveling up characters is a lot of fun. So it's still a fun time. It just has some weird skips in content during the main story, but you get a lot of cool sub-story stuff to make up for it. You can fish, and Goku shakes his tail. That's weird, but that's how you fish. Just shake your ass, and a fish will come and bite.
The slow bro method. Or the slow poke method, excuse me.
No, the fishing and stuff like that is fun, though, in this game. Just like...
What a thought, fish in a Dragon Ball game.
It's an RPG, you have to fish.
We've reached the end. Over 3 hours into this podcast.
Not quite the end. We still have like one last thing to do. But let's talk about the last game.
Well, that's what I meant. We're on the last game. Dragon Ball The Breakers, released for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch in 2022. Developed by Dimps and published by Bandai Namco. Asymmetrical action game similar to Dead by Daylight, taking place in the same universe as the Dragon Ball Xenoverse games, with some crossover content available between The Breakers and Xenoverse 2.
It's all
according to the community, this game is like dead already.
I stopped playing it after season 1, so I wouldn't know. It was already so hard to admit. It was already so hard to matchmake during the early parts of the game, and then like completing your daily and weekly challenges. They kind of messed that up after a certain point. I just stopped caring. I mean, the content looked cool for season 2 and 3 because they added stuff like the Ginyu Force and Vegeta.
That is cool.
In those, Vegeta was in like season 2, and I think Ginyu Force is season 3. But like, so if you don't know, it's like you play as deliberately like super weak characters, and it's in order to like make this Dead by Daylight style gameplay. And then the one character is like an actual like character who's known to be strong in the series, trying to like hunt them down.
But this is the greatest game ever because you could play farmer with shotgun.
That is true. I did unlock
play as a farmer with a shotgun.
I did unlock the farmer skin. So, what is Budokai Tenkaichi 3 got on that? Can I play as farmer?
Isn't this also like the only game where you can play as Cell's larval form?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, if that's up your alley, there you go.
I was running around as a larval Cell in many a match.
The only character where his first form isn't a transformation is where you get stuck as Spopovich for Pooh.
No, so when they started adding more of the progressive seasons, more of the characters start off as like other characters and then transform into later characters.
Or
interesting.
Does Vegeta have like Nappa or something?
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay, interesting. Did we have anything else to say about Dragon Ball: The Breakers?
Nope.
No, because it smells.
Okay. Isn't it using the Xenoverse engine?
It is the Xenoverse engine.
Yeah,
correct.
it's an update. It's an updated Xenoverse engine.
Where's
the graphical
Xenoverse 3
assets
then?
are. I mean, honestly, when they get to Xenoverse 3, I hope they use the graphics or assets of the Breakers, because the Breakers looks really nice.
It does. I even played it on the Switch, and it
like
looks
the
really good.
The shaders, the color saturation, like everything doesn't look like it's just like glossy like Xenoverse has.
And
it looks a lot.
They have the models for semi-perfect Cell and second and third form Frieza already, so you can't tell me they can't give us that.
Yeah, they do now.
Yep. So that was all of the Dragon Ball games that were released in North America. Thank you, Jack, for listing those off for us.
Thank you for giving me something to say.
So,
yeah,
no problem.
2 games that you played.
Before we close up,
maybe later.
We've got one last question, and then we'll do our normal wrap up. And that is just, what are your favorite games in the Dragon Ball franchise? You can list up to 5. You can list as few as 1 if that's all you really want to say. Go.
Dokkan Battle.
Dokkan Battle.
I said Landon's answer
Jack,
for him.
No, I know Landon's going to have more than just Dokkan Battle, but Dokkan Battle.
It's 1 for Jack.
I don't know. Probably Fighters, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Budokai 2, fucking Xenoverse 1, just because I never played 2, and I guess Budokai 1. No, I'll say I'll say Tenkaichi 2 as well. But
okay.
Yeah.
Because I played so many games for this podcast, it's kind of tough to narrow it down to 5, but I'm going to try my best. So my number 1 is obviously Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. That's never not going to be my number 1 favorite Dragon Ball game. I've spent 700 hours on that game, 10 out of 10. Give me Xenoverse 3 already, god damn it. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, despite my little criticism about it, I do still really love the game. It's polished, it's a lot of fun. Just have had a really good time with it. Dragon Ball Fighters, because it's super solid gameplay, story, presentation, just really good. Dragon Ball Fusions, that game is just fun as hell, super underrated, really good gameplay, nice alternate universe story with a bunch of cool, special, unique things that you really can't get in any other game. The last game is such a hard choice, though.
Attack of the Saiyans.
I'm gonna give it
Attack of the Saiyans.
Attack of the Saiyans. Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans is my last one, because that game's just so good. I really wish they could have made it a follow-up. If I had to give one honorable mention, it'd probably be Budokai 2, though. But yeah, that's me. Justin, what about your top 5? Up to 5. You don't have to say 5.
It'd probably Tenkaichi 3, Budokai 3, Fusions, Fighters, and probably Xenoverse 2.
Yeah, it's a pretty good set of 5. All right, Landon, tell us why all of our answers are wrong, except for when Jack said Dokkan Battle, and tell us what yours are.
Ultimate Battle 22, GT Transformation, Evolution, 4 Connect, and you know what? Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
Wow.
None
of those. So the funny thing is not all of those were even bad games. It's just none of those are ones that you would pick.
Did I do well? Did I ace the assignment of games I would never want to play?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, games I really like. Let's go. Yeah, Attack of the Saiyans. Duh. Excellent.
True classic.
True motherfucking classic. Jack, you better play this game.
You should.
You should.
Okay.
Let's see. Number two, baby. Let's go. Yeah, Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Let's go Budokai 2 because I love that board game nonsense. You can have Kakarot, and you can throw in Dokkan Battle if you really want. I don't know. No one's
if you didn't put Dokkan Battle, what would you put instead?
Probably maybe Advanced Adventure.
That's a good pick too.
That one's fun. I like me a little bit of OG Dragon Ball content. Not enough of it. Oh, sorry, Fusions. Fusions is up there. Take up what's one of the games I hate that I put on the list? Probably Fusions over Kakarot. Kakarot's fun.
I was gonna say I think that's a more Landon pick. Yeah, I think.
There you go.
But yeah, no, Jack, you actually really would like Attack of the Saiyans based on the content.
Okay.
So
keep that in mind.
That's all we have for the Dragon Ball podcast, but we gotta catch up. It actually has been quite some time since our last podcast episode.
Almost a month.
Almost
Damn.
a month. So
yeah, August 10th was when we recorded number 12. It is September 4th, so...
Yeah. So how's everybody been? Anybody have some cool stories to share? What you been up to?
It has.
I went to Vegas in the
You
meantime.
How was that?
Landon did go to Vegas.
I'll get to that. You go first.
Oh, okay.
I'm busy.
You're making me go first.
He's busy playing Dokkan Battle.
Bitch.
Yeah. What? I
Bitch.
can't hear you over the Dragon Ball. Oh, okay.
This man is so dedicated to Dragon Ball, he's playing Dragon Ball during the closing segment.
He's a man that knows what he wants. Honestly,
Both guys shooting beams at each other.
Honestly, the past couple of weeks have been kind of quiet for me in terms of things that have been going on. When is this one going up? Like next week?
It'll be on the 15th when it comes
Okay.
up. So 10 days.
We're recording this on Labor Day, and I went to a couple of local shows that some of my friends put on over the weekend, and both of them were pretty sick, especially the one on Sunday. My girlfriend and I finished watching Breaking Bad a little while ago, which I still love, and she also loved. She started showing me Jujutsu Kaisen recently, and I have been enjoying it.
Oh,
We're like halfway through.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
Oh fuck. I'm bad with names. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull up
Describe him.
the guy that's
Describe them.
the blindfolded guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Goro.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep. Everyone loves Goro, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
But also
amazing.
the fucking shit. I'm gonna need to pull up the list of
Yeah, do it.
characters. I
I'm
take
guessing-
it you've seen it.
I have not seen it. I've been reading it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think I've seen everything. Like I've read everything that has been in season 1.
Mhm.
And then I haven't read everything that has been featured in season 2. But I have
I like
good knowledge.
I like
of it.
I like Nanami a lot too.
She's great.
Who just got introduced in a couple episodes ago, and he's very much a no nonsense bad
Yeah.
bitch. Yeah, it's good so far. I'm enjoying it. Aside from that, I don't know. Not really too much going on. Hanging out with my girlfriend. It's been going good. Just working mostly outside of that.
Twerking for the weekend.
We just started Spookfest preseason, although I guess by the time this goes up, it'll probably have the Walking Dead stream will have finished.
We have finished the Spookfest preseason. That's probably going to end.
Well, I mean, I have plans for what
week.
to do. I have plans for what the next preseason game will be.
That's true. He does.
So
The next preseason game is actually our watch of Dragon Ball Evolution.
Hell yeah, baby.
I do
Get fully spooked.
I do want to watch more horror movies this year for Spookfest, because we only had time to do one last year, and that bummed me out
It's
that we
true.
couldn't do more. So we got to
Let's
get
see what time we have this year.
yeah. Anyway, Cloud.
I don't really think, even though it's been like a good few weeks, that I've been up to anything really new. Like I did mention in the last podcast that I started getting back to like playing Magic the Gathering with my friends mostly on a weekly basis, but sometimes taking a break every now and then. Just been a lot of work, because like I even picked up some overtime this past week because one of my coworkers, unfortunately, they had to take a leave, which was perfectly understandable. It was a health related thing, not my business to know full details, not my business to share with people, but it was valid. So like, I picked up a few extra hours the other day to, give a helping hand. So the paycheck's going to look a little nice. I started getting back to playing Pokemon on the side, just kind of like when I don't have anything better to do. So, especially after we did our game collection Patreon exclusive video, it made me want to start playing some Fire Red Leaf Green to continue my shiny Dunsparce hunt, which is still not going well, but I did start getting back to Pokemon Go, and I ended up getting a shiny in that the other day, so that was cool. am I really doing anything else all that new? No, my girlfriend and I have been like rewatching a bunch of like old TV shows that just are, you know, good cartoons like King of the Hill, you know, more Futurama. Been watching the new season of Futurama. That's pretty good, actually. Actually, the new season of Futurama is pretty solid. And then I think I jumped back in and watched a little bit more Dragon Ball Z Kai and made it to when Cell appears, and Piccolo fuses with Kami and confronts him. But nothing really too new. I mean, I've just been kind of doing a lot more of the same old and just kind of getting back to some of the stuff that I've been doing. But yeah, that's all with me. Justin, what's new with you? Isn't there a new Armored Core game or something you've been playing?
Oh, yeah, the game that causes everybody to pussy out and download some kind of easy mode mod because they're bitches.
Is that what people are doing?
I've heard.
Yeah,
it's funny because I've heard people say that the game is too easy.
Really? Because I've heard closer to what Justin said than to what Jack has said, but I've heard that for the most part people are pretty happy with the difficulty medium. But I mean, it is From Software, and did they even make any of the previous Armored Core games, or are they just stepping in?
They made all of them.
That's like one of
their
franchises.
That was like one of their original franchises before the Souls games.
When did Armored Core 5 come out?
Like
a long time ago.
When the 360 did, I don't remember.
Okay, so it's probably a lot of people not realizing that like myself, not realizing Armored Core is a From Software series, and they jump into something else from them, and they're like, "Oh shit!" It's like, yeah, it's a From Software game. What did you expect?
Why do you think for years I've been very disgruntled with them because they keep making Souls games and pretend Armored Core doesn't exist?
Armored Core 5.
Well, are you?
Armored Core 5 came out in 2012.
Oh wow, that's like right around when they started like moving more towards Dark Souls. Like Demon Souls was 2009, Dark Souls 1 was
2011, I think.
Yeah, so this is like when they transitioned to more Soulsborne shit. So, yeah. Anything else new besides Armored Core 6 though? How are you liking Armored Core 6?
No, I'm not somebody who does a lot of new things.
You got your room remodeled, from what I understand.
You did. Yes. Oh. Yeah, in fact, we actually waited and pushed this podcast off a little bit because we wanted to have you on as an extra person to talk about the games with us, because it would kind of be weird to have Dragon Ball podcast without you. And we were like, you mentioned that you had to you had to move to a different room because they were redoing yours, and then you moved back in. So how is it compared to what it was before?
I mean, there's now more walking room because everything that's kind of wasn't needed has been pushed out and either put in storage or thrown away completely.
I assume it's been like dusted too, so like everything's a lot more clean too.
Oh yeah, most of that dust was coming off the fucking carpet that we finally threw out.
Ooh, that's good.
Like, you're the only one that's ever been in...
It was nice, though.
Yeah, you're the only one that's ever been in my room, so you've probably seen that godforsaken thing.
It was dusty as shit. Like, the whole room was dusty as shit, but it was mostly like a bookshelf and that carpet. It was like the worst offenders.
Yeah, but I've gotten rid of it all.
That's nice. At least your room is nice and tidy and freshened up, so that's always good.
Yeah.
Landon, what's new with you?
What?
Tell us about your Vegas trip.
Yeah, the Vegas trip.
I went to Vegas, and it was so hot out that I stayed inside in the air conditioning after I was allowed to. No, it was... we had fun. Yeah.
Anything else?
I played a little bit of Sonic Superstars on the Vegas trip.
Ooh.
All right. Well, you don't have to share that with us because we don't need Sega ninjas jumping in and being like,
I didn't have to sign anything.
Speak.
I didn't sign anything, so I don't know. They didn't tell me I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah,
usually they like want. Yeah, they usually want. They like let us do things so we can talk about it.
Then tell us how it was.
Stick out that you liked?
It was the Switch version, because Nintendo was actually the host of that specific part.
That makes sense.
Because we were at like an expo.
Gotcha.
And at the Nintendo booth they had it. We were playing multiplayer, so it was 4-player there.
Who'd you get to play as?
I was playing as Amy. Because
okay.
I was the last to join, so I just got to play as Amy. It was fun. It is as chaotic as you'd think it'd be. A Sonic game with 4 people, all trying to move fast. Although we did have a lot of fun with the special stage, because it was like Sonic 1-esque special stage where it's the moving bits and shit. But with 4
the
people,
rotating screen.
Yeah, with 4 people, it actually played pretty fine.
That's cool.
So I was actually surprised at that. So I am excited for the game's full release, and I will buy the Switch version because it's all I play.
And we will all be playing it together because it has online, I think, right? Oh wait, no. Mario Wonder is the one.
Mario Wonder does have online.
Mario Wonder does, and we absolutely are playing that one.
Yeah. Anyway, I played through all of Pikmin 4. I had started Pikmin 4 at the very beginning of the last podcast, and I played through it all, mostly thanks to the Las Vegas trip, and fucking love that game. Fantastic. Go buy it right now. Leave your homes and apartments and just go buy the game. I don't care what time it is that you're listening to this. Do it.
Go to your 24-hour game store and go pick up a copy.
Exactly. Like Walmart, done.
My Walmart actually isn't 24 hours.
Well,
None of mine are.
Fuck. What am I supposed to do then? What if I want my Pikmin 4 at 10:30 at night?
Well, we are open till 11, so as long as you get there before 11, you're good.
Alright, I'm going now. No, so I did that. Love that game. Started Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Most of the way through. I'm actually... I'm in the middle of the final mission for the first game. I would have played that tonight, but I had to do this instead.
Thank you.
Thanks. Super cool. So that's, I think, mostly it for... I did go back to the Tears of the Kingdom for a hot sec and played a little bit of that. But then I was like, I should play Advance Wars. I haven't played that yet. What else? Oh, we saw The Equalizer 3 on Saturday night. I don't know if you guys have seen either the other Equalizer movies.
Nope.
But it's just an action movie with Denzel Washington as the main guy. It was good.
Sounds solid enough.
Yeah, it was fun. We both enjoyed it. I've watched the first 2 and really enjoyed them. So when Car was like, let's go to the movies, I was like, Equalizer's on. Done. Let's go. I think that's about, the main thing. Oh, no. We took
one more thing.
I got one more thing. We took a silly trip to Seattle. Saw some I don't know, weirdo that was playing his loop pedal and his strum machine, and Macklemore came out on stage, and I don't get it. But during that we went into the...
Oh, wait, you're talking about Ed Sheeran, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It took me a second. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It was actually... To talk about that for a half second, I don't know what it was, but I think right where we were at, it was right where the bass was in the whole mix, and that's all I could hear.
So everything for you was bass boosted.
It was very distorted, and
I hate
it
that.
didn't sound it didn't sound great.
That sucks.
So like anything where there was like some sort of like bass to it, it was not great. But I mean, other than that, like it was a perfectly fine show. Eddie Boy did a pretty decent job. It was Macklemore like coming out and doing 2 songs was actually kind of fun. And then the next day we went to the Klondike Gold Rush Museum, the National Historic like Seattle unit. And then we went to the Wing Luke Museum for Asian history. That was awesome. That was a fun stop in. And then we stopped at a wildlife refuge on our way back home and had a good time. So we got to do something that I cared about.
Cool.
Which was not seeing it, sure.
All right.
Yeah, that's about all I've got.
That's everything. This episode has been super long. Landon is going to absolutely murder me after he has to do all of the editing for this, for the audio for this. But thank you, everybody who's been able to join. Thank you to Al, who was watching this live. Thank you, Justin, for joining us. And thank you, Jack, for helping with the emceeing. We'll see you next time. Our next planned episode is going to be on the first generation of Pokemon games, Red, Blue, Yellow, because the anniversary is coming up for that. We'll see you then. Take care, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. If you enjoyed us, consider subscribing to our podcast RSS feed, or follow us on youtube.com/GamingStooges and twitch.tv/GamingStooges for more gaming content. If you'd like to chat with us, join our Discord. The link can be found in the episode description. We also want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Your continued support means a lot to us. Not already one? Please take a look at what we have to offer anyone who becomes a patron at patreon.com/GamingStooges. See you next time!